Welcome back, everyone, to Chatting with Nuts, episode number 58, which was my very first football number on my jersey way back in the
fun
day.
fact.
Fun fact, Jimmy facts. And tonight I'm joined by a very special guest, the one, the only, the great, and the powerful Merphy Napier. You finally made it to the big stage. How does it feel?
It feels good. I've been waiting for this moment. I didn't think it was going to come, but I finally have enough subscribers, have enough notoriety for Jimmy to notice me. So feeling good.
I love to help out smaller channels. It's
Mhm.
one of the things that I pride myself on, not forgetting my roots. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Got to connect with those little kids.
Yeah, I just want to spread the love, and give people a platform and the
That's right.
opportunity to
Thank
come
you.
to
That's
this
really
show.
nice of you, Jimmy.
I had so many people being like, "How did you convince Merphy to come on Chatting with Nuts?" As if this is some black sheep show where like, I ridicule people or something. I'm like, it's a welcoming environment. Of course she wanted to come on.
Yeah, I'm pretty nervous. Jimmy's so unhinged. I'm pretty sure this is going to go sideways quick. I'm just
I,
going to be like, "Oh, shucks, that's my time. Getting the light. Got to go."
if either of us is unhinged, it's definitely you.
Hey, I wasn't unhinged 5 minutes before we hit live. I'm totally cordial.
I have been shocked by how infectious your enthusiasm is. When I first saw your videos years and years and years ago, I was like, "There's no way she's this excited about everything, whether negative or positive or whatever. Like you just bring an energy."
Yeah.
And I've in fact now talking to you, I feel like you actually tone it down even a little bit in your videos.
That's sometimes true. Sometimes I let myself go. But I am annoyingly always this way. I'm just a very excitable person.
Do you ever get tired? Because you do a lot of stuff.
Yeah. That's why I sleep at night.
Do you abuse caffeine?
No.
No?
No. I think my problem is that I don't like to sit still. I don't like stationary things. So reading is my one stationary hobby and that's all I can handle. And beyond that, if I'm not reading or making videos, I have to be moving. So I go on we talk all the time on Boxer and I'm always on a walk. I'm
You
never
really
not on a walk. And if I'm not on a walk, then I'm like, okay, let's go for a hike. Let's go find a kayak. We got to go swimming. Like we need to do something. And it's just, I get antsy if I'm not doing something.
Now all of your adventures in Puerto Rico make a lot more sense to me.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, I kind of want to sit on the
I
beach. I want
know.
all inclusive. You're like, I'm gonna take a
I
dangerous
know.
trek 3 miles
I
into the
felt so
wilderness.
bad because you were like, tell me about Puerto Rico. I want to go chill on the beach. And I was like, oh, yeah, you can do that. I can't help you. I don't know what to tell. We could go hiking in the rainforest. There's so many great hikes. There's a great mountain that we got. We got to the top of it with our kids on our backs. It was the best day. But I know that now that I'm not your adventure planner.
Well, here's the thing. I can be an adventurer. I can go do things. I always just need the push.
Mm,
Because me
I'll
and my
push.
me and my wife Kelsey have always been the people. We kind of go with the flow. So if we're with really
Uh-huh.
active people, we're in.
Uh-huh.
We're doing it. But if we're with people who just want to kind of lay low, we also can do that. So
Oh man, that's a wonderful life skill to be a chameleon. I would like to learn that. Someday I will.
it took me a while. And you know what I think it is? I was I was a bit of a recluse for a period in my life when I was a teenager because I was just afraid of everyone hating me. And I just started kind of making myself say yes to things that I didn't want to
Mm.
do. And I think a teacher told me, or maybe it was the Yes Man movie by Jim Carrey. I can't remember. But I just started saying yes. And I noticed that as long as like the people I was with were enjoyable and the vibes were good, like it didn't really matter what we were doing. I can sit and have a coffee for 3.5 hours, or I can go into the rainforest or the Amazon or wherever. However, are there a lot of bugs there? Because that
Yeah. In the world? There are bugs in the world, Jimmy.
where you went hiking.
Yeah, I mean there are bugs in locations outdoors. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't think there were an inordinate amount of bugs,
they got to
but
get
they
rid of
did
that.
exist.
That's terrible.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Do you know they're on the beach too?
Excuse me?
Yeah. They'll be in the sand. You'll sit on them. They'll burrow into your legs. They won't do that.
Oh my god. So I went to a natural pool in Aruba, and I
Mhm.
remember my mother-in-law set her purse down on this rock, and we come back, and it looked like the rock was moving, and it was just a bunch of black crabs, and they were in her bag. So she picked it up, and crabs were like crawling out of the bag. I was like, this is
That's
enough.
amazing.
Um,
Enough?
I was like, we're going back to the room. We're not touching anything.
Oh,
You're throwing
Jimmy.
that purse away.
Which, by the way, I have convinced Jimmy to go to Puerto Rico. He booked his flights.
Yes, they were very maybe the only affordable flight that I've seen in the last 3 years, which was nice.
I'm so happy for you and not at all jealous that you were just like, you know what? Maybe I'll pop over to Puerto Rico for the weekend. And I'm like,
You know,
sir, it has to be a planned event when I go.
well, you have children, so
I
that
do.
definitely that's another variable or a few variables that you have.
Well, I also live in
Yes.
the middle of nowhere. So I have to drive 6 hours to get to an airport that can give me a one-way trip to Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
You are a nonstop. I mean nonstop, not one way.
But
You're just like, I'll pop over to the airport, 15 minutes, get to Puerto Rico, 4 hours, have a nice weekend.
do a little
So
day trip.
happy for you.
Have you considered not living in the middle of nowhere?
Yes,
And any
I
progress?
will.
Well,
I
we're
will.
doing it.
My oh yes, I will live by the ocean someday. It will happen. Ideally, a Puerto Rican ocean. But both my parents and my husband's parents live in Kentucky, and so this is where we are. We're 15 minutes from both sides of the family, and our kids are young. So this is where we are, but it is not where I will live forever.
I respect that. And there's a time you'll know when it's time to make the jump, I think. Because
When they're both 10 and they can swim in the ocean comfortably,
okay.
I will live in the ocean.
All right. Did they just go did they like the water? Are they big fans of the ocean?
My son is a water bug, and I'm teaching my daughter to be as well. She loves the sand. She loves to play in the sand. And if I make her get in the water, she loves to be in the water.
Yeah. See, I wish I was that kid. I didn't like to swim because I didn't want to ever take my shirt off because I was always very self-conscious.
My son is too.
I
We just let
feel
him
for the
swim in
little
a shirt.
guy, man. I feel for him. I
Yeah,
never
just
felt
swim in a
comfortable.
shirt.
That's what I do. I still do that to this
Yeah,
day. I still do that. Yeah.
that's not a big deal.
And now the ocean terrifies me, if I'm being
Aw,
honest. I saw
that's a
someone
shame.
get eaten by a shark in Egypt. Like I was just scrolling through social media and someone just posted a video of someone getting eaten by a shark. And I was like, I think I'm good on
Yeah, it'll
non-exposure.
almost definitely not happen to you. And if it does, you won't remember it because you'll be dead.
That's the problem, though, is that guy wasn't dead. Like, things were
Ah,
happening, and
shucks.
I was like, this is awful.
Okay, so
Um,
that is a bummer when that happens. When you have an experience that should kill you, but it doesn't, and instead you just pain. That's a bummer when that happens.
yeah, I would say like the word I would use to describe it's probably not cash money. Like overall, it's not
Okay,
very good.
fair, fair.
So you're super active. That's clear. You have a lot of energy, and you just got back from the climbing gym. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
All right. So
I
when did
well, not
you?
just. I look like I just got back from the climbing gym, but it's been a couple hours. I just didn't hop in the shower like I said I would, and instead I read.
I mean, it's just chatting with nuts. There's no
This is
reason. You know.
the big leagues. This is my moment.
Hey, our slogan here is "Come as you are." It's not, but I just made that up, and now it is. So it's my show. I get to dictate what the motto is on the fly. When did you start climbing?
Oh, when I was 8.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! So you're not on the bandwagon because this is like a movement right now. Like everyone I know is
Oh, is
climbing.
it?
They just opened up 2
Really? That's
gyms around here.
wonderful.
Oh yeah, it's big.
Good.
Especially when I fly out to work in Colorado, like everyone climbs there, right? Because
Oh,
it's
well, of
Colorado.
course they do in
But
Colorado.
even
Why
around
would they
here,
not?
yeah, I mean, they have the perfect atmosphere for it. I mean, they
Yeah.
all do cool outdoorsy things
Yeah.
over there, but so 8 years old?
Yeah. So my dad he's been a big climber all his life. Was amazing at climbing. Rock climbing, ice climbing, you name it, he did it. And he loved it. And my dad was so good at introducing us to the things that he loved. And then after giving us a couple experiences with it, backing off and just letting us decide if we wanted to ask about it again. And my brother didn't take to it, but I did. So growing up, he started me in a gym. And once I got really comfortable in the silos and then the outdoor silos, he started taking me to the mountains. And we just spend the
Wow.
weekend camping, climbing, and eating Spam. Best childhood memories I
I
have.
love Spam. Let's go.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I can't say I love it, but I can say that I loved it with my dad at the foot of a mountain.
Yeah. I mean, that's a memory. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was.
So you go climb at a gym right now, right?
So there's some really great bouldering around me.
Mhm.
And then, but if I want to top climb, then I go to a gym because I don't have a climbing buddy here. My cousin who lives in North Carolina climbs, but in Kentucky, I don't have a climbing buddy. So if I want to top climb, there's the auto belayers at the gym that I can do. But if I'm not going to the gym, then I'm going bouldering.
So
Everybody's into Spam.
yeah, Spam caused a ruckus here in the chat. Dubs asked if you've watched Free Solo. Is that a
Yes,
climb?
of course I have. Alex Honnold. He's amazing.
What is it about?
Well, okay. So Alex is an incredible climber, but he's also his brain, the part of the brain that signals fear,
He doesn't
didn't
have it?
develop for him.
Oh,
So he likes to free solo, which is when you climb by yourself without a rope, without a harness, and you climb up that whole mountain. Yeah. So there was a documentary. Did you see Dub 64? Did you see his other doc though? The one shucks. I don't remember what it's called now. It was
Free Solo
better.
2?
No. Hold on. Say
I thought it
something
was
interesting,
yes.
Jimmy.
Say something interesting. I pulled my glute at jiu-jitsu yesterday and it hurts really bad.
I'm sorry.
It was very
Your
unfortunate.
glute? That's a shucks
Oh,
deal. Did you not
terrible.
stretch?
No, I just had a very large individual on top of me and I was trying to like bridge up and kind of like a glute ham raise type deal. And I went and I felt just a twinge in my butt cheek and I was like, oh
Yeah.
no, that hurts really bad. And then he continued to smash me for the next 5 minutes. And I just sat there and I was like, I'm paying a lot of money to have this happen to me right now.
Oh, I'm very sorry. The last Timpio. That one.
Yeah, that picture gives me like makes me sweat.
No, so this is like a zillion times better.
Oof.
There's a guy who is naturalist is the wrong word, but he studies near extinct creatures, and there's a certain kind of frog that he knows is at the top of this giant rock. And so they trudge through uncharted rainforest, never been through before, and climb that rock and find that species so that he can study it. And it's the best. It's the best story in the whole wide world.
That is an incredible motivation to climb a rock.
You got to watch it too, Jimmy.
Well, I could do that because I do enjoy watching things like that. Like even though it makes me like panic. Have you seen, the videos where people like run and dance on the edge of buildings?
Yeah, I'm
stuff?
not into that. That's not the life I'm trying to live.
It makes me feel very tight in the chest, but
No.
to me, it's almost like exposure therapy to it because I'm terrified of heights. So like I'll
Okay.
watch someone else do it and I still like get clammy, but it does help me out. Though I do like roller coasters, even though I'm afraid of heights. That's the one thing I can do.
Yeah. So I love adventure, but I'm not an adrenaline junkie.
Okay.
Those are two very different things.
I don't know if I would have made that connection without you saying that.
Really?
I think I would have put them all in from the hip, I would have put them all into the same thing. But there is a distinction in that.
Oh, yeah.
There's purpose in an adventure, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want the experience as opposed to you want to feel something.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And obviously finding a rare species on top of a rock is like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. So because they found that species, they were able to make that sacred land. So sacred's the wrong word. They were able to make that protected land. So it couldn't be developed on. It got to stay a rainforest. So like so many things happened in that one move. I love it.
That's awesome. I will check those out. That sounds extremely interesting. Can I watch his second documentary first? Is that okay?
Oh, yeah. Well, the second one's not even his. He's just in it. He's the climber that makes everything happen. But yes,
Gotcha.
you can.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So when you go climbing in a gym, is it still exhilarating for you, or is it very, you know what I mean? Like once you've climbed and you've been bouldering and stuff, I assume that that's a lot more of
Oh yeah,
an
outdoor climbing is
adventure rush.
definitely more enjoyable than climbing, but gym climbing is still super fun because you're climbing. And
Yeah, and
I'm not a pro. I think that should be
don't be humble.
noted.
Don't
No,
be
no, no,
humble.
for real. I just think they should really be noted.
You're always so confident. I want to hear you brag on yourself. This is the internet. You got to bring it.
I mean, I'm confident, but I'm not a fool.
Ooh, I like that.
If I go to a gym and there's somebody who's built like a climber, I'm not gonna be like, "Hey, let's climb together. I bet I'll match your pace." Like, no, I'm a hobbyist. I'm not there every day.
That's kind of how I feel at jiu-jitsu. I see some of these guys come in. One of the UFC heavyweights trains at my gym, and he does rounds with people getting ready for a fight. And people are like, "You want in?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want in." He's a prize fighter. He is fighting to the death in a cage.
My glute will explode.
What am I gonna do to help him? I'm doing nothing but wasting his
Yeah.
time, and I'm
Yeah.
a decent purple belt, but like I'm a hobbyist. I know that I'm not winning any world championships. My
Mhm.
competition days are far behind me.
Mhm.
So
It's good
I'm
to
confident.
know where you actually are, because it's no fun when you actually are someone
Yeah.
who's good at something, and then some guy comes up or girl comes up and is like, "I'm as good as you," and then they can't keep pace at all, and it's like, I don't wanna tell you to get lost. Like, you never wanna be the kid that people are like, "I don't wanna tell you to get lost."
Yeah, I mean, I saw some people asking what belt I am in jiu-jitsu. I'm a purple belt, which it goes white, blue, purple, brown, and black. So most
So
people
you
never.
are big stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it a while, and
Mhm.
I'm good. I'm not great, and I know I'm not because I do a whole bunch of other stuff. I do 8 other things, so that's a new thing for me. Is like doing a lot of things. I used to be someone that did one thing
Ah,
150% obsession, burnout, move to the next thing, and I've actually gotten pretty good at spreading things around, which is why I can do multiple YouTube channels. I can do podcasts. I can do whatever. Um, that was a learned skill. That's not something I was naturally given.
so are you more of, like, an obsessive personality naturally?
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I think that's a key trait in a lot of YouTubers.
Hmm. I could see that. Yeah.
Like, you throw yourself into it wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and then there's enough of it that feels like a skill that you can grind away. Because I'm a grinder. I like getting into something, and I like figuring out the nuts and bolts of it, and then how I can be better at it.
Yeah.
Um, Now, I'm not someone that dives super hard into analytics, but I am someone who takes like user feedback, right? Like viewers, and they give me feedback, and I watch my own stuff with a very critical eye, and that's why I'm always improving the production quality and the mic and changing the way I talk, and maybe not the way I talk, but trying to repeat myself a little bit less, which is also why this is fun because we don't have to worry about any of that. We just get to be loose. And I think I do better in these kind of scenarios because I give myself time to mull over something.
Did you start jujitsu because you needed to replace wrestling?
Yeah. How'd
Yeah.
you know? How did you?
I was just curious.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
follow you around. I know all the things.
Yeah, it was the only thing I was ever really great at, I think. And it took up such a large portion of my life. And I also put a lot of my life on hold for it. I turned down a lot of opportunities to do other things, and probably stunted my personal growth as well doing it, I think. Um,
How long were you doing it?
so I started when I was 17, and I stopped when I was 26 or 25, 8 or 9 years, 8 or 9
Mhm.
years. And I would say from like 19 on, it was very consistent, like very, very consistent. So
Did you start with standard wrestling before you moved on to the more
no,
showman side? So you started with the showman kind of wrestling.
I started with the
What's the
showman,
appropriate word for that?
professional wrestling.
Professional. Okay, so you started with professional. What got you into it at 17?
Well, I was into it my whole life. It was, we talk about escapism in books, and I'm the first person to say, like, why do you read? Escapism is at the top of that list. And I know some people Like, there's good things and bad things about that. But wrestling for me was very much an escape early in my life, because I didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. And I just saw these people that were like larger than life. And I always was like, I want to be that. And that felt more tangible to me than like Superman or Batman. It was like, these
Yeah.
people are real and they're doing these
Yeah.
amazing feats and their stories. And even once I found out, it's phony, it's fake or staged or whatever one people want to call it, I didn't miss a beat. I was like, oh, that's amazing. We get to control the outcomes. Think of all
Yeah.
the tension you can build. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it never really switched me around on it. Like, a lot of people, they figure out it's fake and they're over it. They grow up. I never grew up. So I did it in the backyard with my friends for a long time. And then I went and found some guy to train me in a crappy fire hall in Kaiser, West Virginia. And,
Wow.
that was it. Boom. And then I did more training in Pittsburgh, and I did stuff in the Ring of Honor dojo.
So that was your first legit job, was professional wrestling.
Yes, I would say so.
Wow.
But I worked the whole time I did that. So that's the other thing is I was working full time wrestling, and I was doing online part-time college. So there were days, especially when I was working remotely for tech support for Best Buy corporate, it's like a Geek Squad remote support position. So I would work the night shift. So I would wrestle at a show from like 7 to 10. And if I was the main event, I would like not even be able to shower or anything. I'd go to my hotel, I'd log in, I'd work to 6 or 7 a.m. And then I'd wake up, do my homework, leave, go to the next town, wrestle
Okay,
again.
so I can see how that would be so consuming that you feel like you might have missed out on life a little bit during
Yeah,
those are really formative years too.
certainly.
17 to 26, those are big years in personal development and finding yourself, which
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure you did a lot of finding yourself. I think anything athletic, you find yourself a lot.
Yeah, without a doubt, and also something to where you're seeing success. Like, I didn't know
Mhm.
how to I didn't feel like I was ever very successful in school, even though I did okay. So it was the first time I saw results from my hard work. So I just kept working harder. And I would love to say I was a awesome person back then, but I actually think that was bad for me in some ways. I think it was actually
Mm,
kind of toxic for me because I think I had an inflated sense of self. And how
mhm.
you're talking about that piece of the brain that didn't have fear, that was me. Like, I thought I was
Really?
I thought I was untouchable. Like, I
Yeah.
really believed that I
Ego.
had yeah, I had a huge
Mhm.
ego.
Mhm.
Um, and I I don't like the person I was. I'm a better person now.
I don't like the person I was when I was around that age range. I think that's pretty normal.
Okay, that makes me feel a little less bad then.
People grow, people change.
I think that's like one of the things about books that like I was able to reintegrate to myself, seeing myself through characters, um, getting attachment to that, and then seeing flaws in characters and being like, well, you weren't so different than that
Yeah.
whenever you were young and
And you
dumb.
see the potential for growth. You see how far they can come,
That's
and
right.
it's like, I can grow too. I can change too.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I have a soft spot for like really dumb, airheaded protagonists, Fitz,
The
Simon.
himbos?
Yeah, dude, like that. I get it
Were
because
you a himbo, Jimmy?
I might have been a himbo. They called me Himothy Nuts back in the day. Okay.
That's amazing.
So I think that's why I have a soft spot for idiots because I was an
Yeah,
idiot. And you
fair
just
enough.
look back at yourself 8, 10 years ago and you're like, how did I live? Like, how
Yeah.
did I put one foot in front of the other?
Mhm. Did you read Skyward by Brandon Sanderson?
I have not, but I heard it's really good.
Okay, that's fine. The protagonist of that series is the most 17-year-old Merphy I've ever read in a book, written by a middle-aged man, but we'll tackle that identity complex later. But she's just very like walled off, aggressive, kind of confrontational, mean, and has to
Ooh,
learn to
mean?
soften. Dude, I w- I wouldn't say mean. I didn't try to be mean, but I was blunt and I was
Interesting.
very closed off and I didn't want anybody to see any sort of vulnerability or tenderness in me. I wanted to be tough.
Hmm.
And I think that's a big part. Being who I was then is a big part of why I am who I am now. Because I remember when my friend yelled at me, snapped at me, and was like, "Do you care about anything?" And I didn't realize that everything somebody would say to me, my response was, I don't care. Because I just wanted to be someone who didn't care about anything. And that moment made me start observing other people who were vulnerable and start tearing down my walls and learn to be vulnerable. And so now my perspective on life is I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to let people see that I like it. And like that's been really formative for me. So I think those hard parts where you look back and you're like, the people that knew me then and don't know me now, when they reflect on who I was, they have an image that I don't like, right?
Yeah.
But having that and learning from it and shaping yourself from that, I think is what makes us into what we are today. So it's valuable and it should have been there.
Yeah. I kind of relate to all of that. I was talking to Joanna this week, and we were kind of talking about like, the purpose of life, all this, philosophical jargon nonsense. And we were talking about like,
book nerds.
The impact that you have on someone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like once you're gone, and people have memories of you and you affected their life. But I think people think about the positive, but I'm so pessimistic that I think about all the people that I may have hurt. And I think about like the negative impact.
I think about that too.
Yeah, I think about the person I used to be and the person I am now. And, it's I wouldn't say it's a 180, but it's a significant, maybe a 45 degree, maybe 90 degree difference. And
I think
that's
sorry,
rough.
go ahead.
It's for me, that's hard to process.
Yeah, I think about that too. I think that we tend to be harder on ourselves probably than other people do. Like, sure, you probably did say some things that you shouldn't have done, and it probably did affect someone in the world. But we tend to hold on to those things so tightly, whereas maybe somebody's holding on to some of the things that we've said, maybe they've been able to let it go. And I know that I've talked to people in the past where I've been like, man, I used to be this. And they were like, well, yeah, you were. But I mean, you were also this and this and this and this. And it's like, well, I don't look at those. I look at the parts that I fear I've damaged the world with,
I think even reflecting on that is probably a good sign.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Probably people who never ask that question of themselves. And I'm somewhat envious of them because I imagine they're a whole lot less stressed.
Maybe, but have they had as much growth?
I would venture to say probably not. That'd be where I put my money.
I mean, generally, Jimmy, you probably want to be somebody who affects the world in a positive way, affects people in your life in some sort of positive way, or at least doesn't harm them. And that kind of self-reflection is the only way we can get there,
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's like a non-negotiable with being a human being that you just want to belong to something maybe bigger than yourself or affect something that's bigger than yourself. As someone who has tried to be antisocial before, like I always end up finding a way to connect to somebody, even when I don't want to. It's like I'm working against myself. Like there's two me's. And I think that's probably a big reason why I started a booktube channel.
Oh, yeah. Connection. We're built for it, man.
Is that why you started your channel? Did you just want
Yes.
to talk to people?
Yes.
I saw your first video was Harry Potter World.
No, it wasn't. I've privated all my early videos.
Oh, no. I was wondering.
Dude.
I was like, was this a vacation like vlog channel it's starting out? Or?
That was like a bonus video that was just like, here's not my normal content, but we went to Harry Potter World, and that is too nostalgic, so I haven't privated that, although I probably should. But maybe I need to go back and private more videos now that I'm thinking about it. But like the early ones, you know how it is. They're rough. So eventually you've got to pretend they don't exist.
I mean, there are some reviews that are still on my channel that I think are terrible, but I like to think of it as like my lineage of coming through.
That's great for you. I can't do that because people will comment and they're like, "Oh, cool! I will check out this book because of your recommendation." And I'm like, "Don't do that. I don't recommend that anymore."
Have you ever done a video like things I've changed my mind on? Because I've been thinking about doing a video like that.
Yeah, I don't know that I have, but I've definitely thought about it.
I think it'd be a good
video. I think it's a good one.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I always there's a thing on the internet where changing your mind is almost a sign of weakness. Like you have to dig your heels in deeper. And I am just not that person. Like I am so okay with admitting when I was wrong. And there's a lot of stuff that I've changed my mind on. It's one
Yeah.
of the reasons why I'm terrified
Sell
of
out. Fake.
fake.
You're just doing what people want you to do. You're saying what people want you to say, Jimmy.
And then if it's super negative, they appreciate your honesty. What is that? What is it that makes a negative review
Only
more
negativity is honest.
Yeah, what's your take on that? Like, because I don't think this is anecdotal. I see this everywhere, not just in books, but if someone, just absolutely blasts something, it's like, finally some honesty around this place. And I'm like,
Yeah. I think we haven't talked about this specifically, but my answer is the same as something that we've talked about previously. And I think that people are bad at having an opinion on something without moralizing it. And so if they just didn't like that book too, or they don't like that author and they want the book to fail, then they see negativity and they're like, you're the only honest one. But in reality, you gave me the answer I wanted. Just the same, you do more reviews than other people. You do more vlogs than other people. You do whatever it is. You
Right.
do X differently. You're better than everybody else because you gave me what I wanted. But it can't just be, hey, I really love your content. This actually fits my taste really well. Instead, it has to be moralized, and other people have to be put down instead of just raising someone up. I think people are just really bad at doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can probably think of times in my life where I may have done that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think you lasered in on that's something that is very relevant. I think that's
Yeah, I think we
truth,
all do it. We just have to be a little bit self-aware and maybe try not to do it so much, but we all do it.
Yeah, I like what Komodo says here. It says, yeah, most people need help digesting an opinion. One of my good friends, who's been watching the channel for a long time, Kev, let me know yesterday that the first video ever watched of mine was my Mistborn review, where I was very on it. And he's like, I hated that video. I was like, who's this joker? And then he kept watching the videos. He's like, oh, I kind of like this guy, So his first impression of me is maybe that I was like, maybe a bit negative or a hater or an airhead. But, over time, I was able to earn that trust, which I would say that's a rare instance. I think a lot of people, it's one and done.
Well, I think even but a lot of times people won't be one and done. They'll watch a backlog. They'll watch like 5, 6, 7 of your videos and still come out of it saying you suck. And but the thing is, Jimmy, in our position, it's our job to see that comment that says, man, you're really annoying, or wow, you come off as really fake, or whatever their feedback is, and know that what they're actually saying is, I don't really vibe with your personality. And that is an okay thing for someone to feel. It's just that they have trouble expressing it in a chill way, and they have to moralize it like you've done something wrong today,
Yeah, I completely agree. And I'm also, not everyone's going to be friends. But it doesn't need to be hatred. It doesn't have to be strong dislike. It can just be.
And there's loads of people who can express preference really politely, but those really weird targeted comments, I try to filter it as, oh, you just didn't know how to say you didn't vibe with that.
I like that. I like that quite a bit. I've mispronounced every single name in One Piece. And
I know you bring it up all the time, Jimmy. You gotta let that go.
I know I feel very insecure. I feel vulnerable when I try to pronounce manga names because I'm like, everyone can tell I'm just, the gears are spinning and nothing's coming out. But most people have actually been pretty polite about that. I mean, one of the things that's kind of remarkable about you is you're very successful. Like, you've grown a channel. I mean, you have done something that not even 1% of people will ever do. And your enthusiasm has never, from what I can tell, has never really wavered. And especially talking to you, because we've been talking for a while now, and getting to know you, you truly are, I would say, an optimistic person, but also just an enthusiastic and a very genuine person. Have you ever wavered in that, in all this? Because there's something to be said about being on YouTube, making content, people commenting, whether good or bad, and then obviously the explosion of growth. How have you, with all the variables, how have you stayed so enthusiastic, not just in general, but about books? Because I see some people become jaded almost towards books, but you've never done that.
Okay, I'll answer you. But how do you, in what way do people become jaded towards books?
Well, I feel like maybe people pivot away from the content that maybe they were making prior, right?
Oh yeah, so they move on from that hobby.
Yes, and they
Yeah.
they almost feel, if they, and I can understand this, if you step away from something that you've been doing for a long time and you focus on something else, and then you know what I'm saying, and then that kind of makes a
You
rift there, and then you got to
Sure,
come
sure.
back.
Yeah, and I think there can be added pressure too if you're making content about it. People are following you, people want something from you, and you don't want that thing anymore. So then it can make you then resent that thing where it's
Yes.
like, I don't I feel like you think that this is my personality, but this is just an interest that I had, but now I'm interested in other things. So then it builds up in a resentment. So I can understand that. How do I stay interested in it? I just still like books. Like I just this is not very exciting answer.
But it's
I
the right.
really love to read. I always have. I really, really love talking to people. And
Mm.
so I don't want to stop doing that. And I ever lost my excitement? I mean, like, yeah, there are days where I don't feel like making a video. And there are days where, I read too many negative comments in a row and then I spiral. Like, we've talked about that, Jimmy, is
Yeah.
like being a content creator, you get constant feedback. And a lot of times it's really, really positive. And sometimes like they can zero in on your biggest insecurities and you're like, oh, maybe I am stupid, you know?
Oh yeah.
And then you have to kind of dig your way back out of it and remember, oh, the world is bigger than this one moment. It's all going to be fine. So I absolutely have spiral days and I absolutely have days where I don't feel like making a video, but at the end of the day, I really like making videos and I really like reading. So I just like doing it.
Yeah, I think that's the key, is keep it about the books. That's another thing, is like, I think not just maybe jaded towards like books, but towards what we call booktube. I see, and it's like, well, reviews aren't doing so well anymore, and this or that. I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever heard you utter those words ever.
Well, I mean, I made my review channel specifically because reviews don't do well.
Right.
And I wanted to do them, but I didn't want it to hurt my channel because I like my channel. And so I
Mhm.
just made another channel where it's like it doesn't matter if the views do well or not because that's not that's not affecting that. So I can do both.
Was it a pretty big decision for you to make the second channel?
No, it was literally the idea popped in my head and I was like, "Oh, this is the solution to my problem. I can still make reviews now."
Yeah, I think it's for the love of the game, like that.
Yeah,
And I've really enjoyed watching your reading vlogs as well.
thanks.
And we talked about negative reviews, or negativity getting the honest thing. So when it comes to like negative reviews, you don't hold back much. I always feel like you're fair. I think you're fair, but
Thank
like if you
you.
don't like something, you say it with your chest. Like, you're not
Yeah.
afraid to put it out there. What's your feeling about voicing a negative opinion? Because I see a lot of things on both sides of the coin. Like, some people say,
Mhm.
don't say something you wouldn't say to the author. There's other people who
Mhm.
say that, we shouldn't do negative reviews.
Mhm.
Um, is it simply just a matter of like, who you're here for?
Yeah, I almost always feel bad when I do a negative
Really?
like, yeah, yeah, almost always, because in the moment, I'm like, I, like, care about making honest videos, so if I don't like something, then I should say it. Like, I shouldn't censor myself because somebody might not like hearing that I didn't love something that they loved, right?
Mhm.
And authors generally, I think, don't watch booktube. I mean, it's mostly supposed to be readers hanging out with readers. And if an author chooses to watch a review of their book, then I guess that's their choice. They
Yeah.
get what they get. but
Hear that,
I
Philip?
mean, hear that, Philip? I we just say it to his face. No, I feel like honesty for me is important. I want to tell the truth if I like a book or not. That said, I almost always feel bad after I do it because then there are comments of people who are like, "Oh, I love that book. That makes me feel bad." And I'm like, "No, I feel bad too." But I always circle back to, "No, I just want to I'm here to chat about books, so I want to keep it exactly how I feel without being a jerk, but being honest."
Yeah. I think that authenticity definitely comes across, but also in your positive reviews as well. Like, it's not just one of those things where if Murphy's ranting, I know she's being honest, but when she's being positive, I gotta trust.
Liar.
Yeah. Sell out. That's the word of the
Sell out. That's a good one. Chill.
I like shill. Shill is a
You
fun
like
word.
chill? That's a good one.
It's a good one.
Okay.
iWizard has a great question. He says, how has the enterprise of reading changed since you become booktubers? Now that you've got these deadlines, these videos to make, these people trying to get your attention, has that complicated the simple human act of reading? Does it feel more like a chore now than a means to an end? And has it made the experience of reading more meaningful? And I know you, Merphy, have made a video of reading's different now. And that is a topic that I had on my mind a lot around the time that you posted the video. And I thought the video was excellent. So I think I can let you handle this one. I think that you probably have this on lock.
Oh no, I don't remember what I said in that video. I think that it does get to a lot of people, because our hobbies generally, for your average human, a hobby is something that you do for the love of it. But hobbies oftentimes do ebb and flow. So you love to read for a little while, and then you go paint for a little bit, or you go do something, play your video games, or whatever other things that you're interested in. And you may not notice that you're reading less now that you're just more interested in this other thing, unless you're making content and people are relying on you and you have a schedule. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, but I have to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think for a lot of people it does turn into a chore, and maybe that's where some of what you mentioned earlier, kind of almost a bitterness toward it, comes in from that obligation. Honestly, I don't know that I've personally experienced that, just because I'm much like you. I'm not really a hobbyist. I have a person, like my hobbies become my personality traits. If I love something, then I'm like, this is who I am as a person. And so I've never had a portion of my life where I just don't read. And I may slow down a touch, but if that's the case, like if I don't have a video to make, then I just make a community post and I'm like, hey, no video today. And it's like, nobody cares, like the stakes are low. So
I love that.
The stakes are low. Nobody cares. People want your content, but if you take a day off, like, all right, they'll watch something else. YouTube's big. So
it's so big.
It's so big.
It's so big.
So it's like, I don't know. I try really hard not to put a lot of pressure on myself. And sometimes I do. Sometimes, as I said, I have my panic days. I have my days where I'm like, the whole world is collapsing. But then I go on a walk and usually call my friend Lynn and cry at her. And then I'm okay.
Thank God for Lynn. Lynn.
Thank you, Lynn.
Shouts out to you, Lynn. I know you're a big fan of the show. Always here in the front row.
That's right.
I think it's cool. Someone that, obviously you've been doing this for years. Like, I'm at 3.5 years, almost 4 years here on YouTube. You've been on here for 7 or 8 years, right?
Yeah, 7 years, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't an overnight thing. It's something that you kind of grew into. So to hear someone like you, have those kind of faltering moments of confidence or imposter syndrome and stuff, I think it goes a long way. Because, a lot of the people in this community are creating videos. They're doing this thing. So I think that goes a long way. How has it changed? Like being Merphy Napier 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and making YouTube videos to what you're doing today. Is it a totally different thing now with the numbers that you see?
Like, are the numbers higher? Is that what you're asking?
Well, no. But like, how has it changed? For instance, I'll give you an example.
Yes.
So for my channel, my book channel, I respond to almost every single comment. I have commenters that I know they're going to comment. I'm excited to see them comment every time. And then on Dudes Talking Manga, the One Piece videos that get a lot of traction, I can't respond to the comment. One, because of spoilers, but two, it's just too much. Like it's simply, it's a losing battle. So I feel like it's like two different things. And at some point, you had that success and you had to have felt that change.
Yeah.
So do you miss anything about those days? Like the older days?
At first I did. At first it was really, could be, okay. So when I started my channel, I didn't know that YouTube could ever be a career for anyone. Like I didn't even know people got paid to make videos. It was very much the Wild West YouTube still, of like whatever is happening. And when I found out that there were people making book videos, it was a foregone conclusion. As soon as I found a book channel, I was like, reading can be social. And if something can be social, I'm in it. So I set up a channel immediately, just like I sprinted at it and didn't really consider anything other than, hey, maybe someone will watch me and I'll have a conversation. And that's what my channel was from the start. And that's all I cared about. And then once I started getting to the point where I couldn't respond to every comment, there was a section of time where I just devoted all day, every day to comments. And then eventually I had to give myself permission to not respond to every comment and to just figure out a different way to do community. And I still try really hard to do videos where people's comments are something that I'm engaging with within the video and stuff like that. And then I have my Discord servers where I try to be active. I mean, my Patreon, I'm there every day, but I also have a public server that I'm in and interact in. So I try to still have pockets of the internet where I still get that interaction. I still get those friendships, and the wider scale doesn't feel insurmountable anymore because I have my people.
I really like the phrase doing community in a different way.
Yeah.
I like that quite a bit. I think that that is certainly a challenge whenever you're dealing with like a sheer amount of number of people who want to talk to you and want to connect with you. It was weird for me because like this has always been about connecting with people. And it was like, well, what am I doing if I can't respond to every comment? And then like you have to, it's a different thing. It truly is. Is there something that you would say you're most proud of that you've done?
Yeah, like what videos or what do you mean?
Yeah, video. We'll go with video.
Okay. My favorite video that I've made is an avatar quiz show that I did with Daniel and Tim. It's just so stupid. I just really liked it.
How long ago was that?
Oh man, at least three or 4 years ago. I peaked there. It'll never come back around.
I was wondering if it was going to be how I style my hair.
Oh, shut up! Is that still live?
Oh, it's live.
No. Okay, hold on. No, it's not.
I was actually going to ask you how's it changed? How do you do your hair now?
No, that's horrible. You've just told me something. I need to go through my channel and I need to delete some old stuff. I'm going to do that tonight.
9,100 people, how I style my hair.
That's a disappointing thing you've just told me.
I think Alan has a video about him styling his hair.
Does he? That sounds like Alan.
And Andy Smith had one too, because Andy Smith had the best hairdo I've ever seen.
He does have great hair.
Oh my God. Are you kidding? I mean, I am so envious of that man's head of hair. And now he's rubbing shoulders with senators and everything else. He's abandoned us here, unfortunately. Philip says, Jimmy, when are you doing your hair routine video? Never, ever, never.
You're depriving the people.
It's not a very complicated operation. A lot of hairspray because my hair doesn't stay. So, which, I wish I had waves like Andy. And
you are single-handedly responsible for the hole in our ozone layer, Jimmy.
I feel that way sometimes, to be honest. Yeah. The Tresemme bottle is getting bigger and bigger.
Tresemme, use big sexy hair. That's way better.
Wait, what?
Big sexy hair. That's the hairspray to be.
Okay, I'll try it. I mean,
do it. Your life will be changed. Tresemme, that's for chumps.
Okay.
Yeah, I said it, and I said it with my chest.
I don't have anything to insult you about yet, so that's unfortunate.
We'll get there.
I don't have any. We'll get there. We'll get there. So, is it safe to say reading has changed your life?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm no longer a receptionist. I like that.
Alex says, I feel like I missed something, but Merphy just called Jimmy big sexy hair.
You better believe I did. That's this kind of live stream. No, it's hairspray.
You said you read your whole life. What was the first book you fell in love with?
Junie B. Jones. Did you read Junie B. Jones?
No, I don't know what this is.
She was obnoxious. It's like, did you read Amelia Bedelia?
I remember that title, but I don't remember. I don't remember the books.
As far as I can remember it, Junie B. Jones was kind of the younger version. No, that's probably wrong. That's probably a terrible comparison. I don't remember much about her. I just remember that I really, really liked her books.
Well, apparently they're banned in some places, so
Whoops.
shame on you. One of the top 100 banned books, actually.
Peddling some illegal stuff. This is probably stuff went over my head. I don't know.
Junie B.
Goosebumps.
Uncensored.
I also really liked Goosebumps.
Oh, what's your favorite Goosebumps?
The one, I don't know, but the one with the monster under the bed, that affected me.
Ooh, that's a good one. In the front cover with the hand coming out.
Yeah, dude.
Right? Yeah,
I had to
yeah.
take a leap to my mattress every night for like a real long time. Like probably too long. Still think about it sometimes. I'm 30. Still think about it.
So safe to say you're not watching the new Insidious movie.
What?
It's a new horror movie that's out.
Oh, no.
It's not going to be very good. I'm going to watch it. It's going to be terrible.
Okay, good.
The one I remember.
Watch the Barbie movie.
They're releasing Barbie Crocs.
Really? Are you gonna get some?
If you do.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, deal.
We'll go shopping together in Puerto Rico and we'll buy Barbie Crocs.
The Ken kicks on, man. It's going to be
good.
Madness. I remember the Goosebumps book with the mask. Do you remember like the orange mask and she can't take it off? That is like, to me, that's Goosebumps. Like that's the one that stuck with me forever. And I would not wear Halloween masks for a little bit because it creeped me out so bad.
Jeepers Creepers. Do you remember that one?
I remember the movie, but I have a feeling you're not talking about the movie.
No, I think I am.
Okay.
My memories are very just soldered together. So if I remember something, there's no telling how well I remember it.
I mean,
but I do still remember that song.
Jeepers Creepers. Yeah.
Where'd you get those peepers?
I love that movie because it has Justin Long in it, and I love Justin Long.
I don't know about him, but
I love him because he was in Accepted, which was funny, and he also took a role in the movie Tusk, which is one of the most absurd Kevin Smith movies of all time. But on a much better question, Komodo Sanders asked, Merphy, how does being a parent affect the way you read and create? My wife and I are hoping to be parents soon, and I fear my time will be completely depleted.
I mean, it hasn't. You just read at different times, you know? Like, my son didn't sleep when he was first born, like ever, at all, ever. And so when I was up in the middle of the night, I just started reading ebooks instead of physical books because I didn't want to turn the lights on. And I was just reading because I didn't want to be grumpy. And so I did something that I enjoyed instead. and my daughter still takes naps. So in her nap time, I lay down with her. She falls asleep and I read. So I think you just, my kids go to bed, I read. You find time to read.
Do you find yourself whenever you maybe it's been a little bit of a tougher day going more towards stuff that's a little bit less involved, like maybe something lighter? No? Just bone hunters 100% of the time.
I'm telling you, Jimmy. No, I mean, I might choose a lighter book than Bone Hunters. But I don't, if I'm sitting still, I'm reading. Like, I don't enjoy TV or movies or like, I don't like to just, if I'm sitting, I'm reading. If I'm not sitting, then great. I'm doing something else. But that is my relaxation. That's my unwind.
That's what you do.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I don't have hobbies. I have personality traits.
And it's also okay to take breaks from that every now and then, right? Because I get the guilt wherever, like, because what I do is read. I do read, right? Like that's the thing I do. But lately I've been playing a little bit of video games, and every now and then I'm like, I should not be doing this. I should be reading, but I have to remind myself that it's okay.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I have days where I don't read anything, just do other stuff. But I mean, if you want to do it, then you do it. If you don't, then okay.
Yeah. Like you said, the stakes aren't that high.
The stakes are low, man. Most things we obsess over in life, the stakes are low.
I think that's something I should remind myself of daily, to be honest with you.
It's easy to fixate. It's easy to forget how big the world is and just really zero in on stuff. And
how small we are in the scale of the universe, the pale blue dot.
And again, I have my panic days. I want to be super clear. Like right now, I'm chill. I'm just hanging out. But
you're unhinged.
I have my always. I have my panic days where I'm like, the world is caving in. And then Lynn says, it's gonna be okay. Go for a walk.
I'll tell you, Lynn, MVP. Everybody needs a Lynn. I think that's another lesson we could take from tonight.
Get yourself a Lynn.
Get yourself a Lynn, and the stakes are low. Super low. So you read a lot of books at once, which I find to be impressive. I mean, I don't read one book at a time anymore. I kind of spread it around to different genres and whatnot. But you had a video about 3 months ago where you talked about kind of slowing down, and
Mm.
you said I was ferociously reading this book, which is such a good way of describing it. Do you feel? How are you feeling about this? Like balancing the sinking into a book in immersion against progress, right? Like getting through some stuff and whatnot. Like, how do you feel like you're balancing that right now?
For me, it just depends on the book.
Mhm.
The point of the video wasn't necessarily to say I'm not going to ferociously read anymore, but more to validate the act of slowing down. Because there are books where I'm gonna take a long time to read them. Malazan is a great example of that. I take at least a month per Malazan book. I take breaks. I read something else in between. Um, but there are other books where it's like, this is significant. This matters, and I wanna chew on every word. I wanna take a break after a few pages and think about it, and not making it a game where it's points, I think is valuable, and just
Yeah.
saying, "I'm gonna take this one slow." And that gets to be okay because there are other books to read and, there will never be enough time to read all the books, so just read how you're gonna read. So there are books that I still ferociously read. There are books that I gobble up and it's amazing and I love it. And then there are other books that I'm like, "Oh, taking my time on this one." And that's great.
Yeah, I always feel like I have like a main book, but I'm starting to get away from that a little bit. And so my main book recently was supposed to be The Iron Council by China Mieville. It's the third book in the Baslag series. And it's a great book. It's a phenomenal book. It's very experimental in some ways. And the writing at times is like very terse. And then other times he goes crazy with the description. It's definitely a China Mieville book. But that was supposed to be my main book. But then I was also reading Tress. And Tress is just so readable
Yeah.
that I ended up reading more of it. And I was like, oh, like that's okay. I can
Yeah.
just get through this because that is a book I could read a lot faster. And I'm glad I did that because I think I'm enjoying Iron Council more for taking my time with it.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have egos as readers, I think, and I'm going to read this many pages of this book a day, but some
Oh,
books
yeah.
do not agree. They just
Yeah.
simply will not be read that way. When I read Cormac McCarthy, I read him very slow. 10, 15 pages a day sometimes. And without a doubt, for me, that experience is better because of it. So I like that.
Cormac McCarthy and Gay Carverall Bagall. J. Carverall J. That other author that you've convinced me to read.
John Owens?
Guy.
Oh, Guy. Gavriel. K.
That's the one.
There it
I
is.
knew it. I got it right.
Oh, man, you have not read any GGK
No,
yet. Oh,
but you've
that's
convinced
right.
me to.
Do you know
I haven't picked the book. I haven't put it on my TBR, but I will.
Jake Bishop has a great video about where you should start with Guy Gavriel K, and it's like the handbook. So I will
Shouldn't you
send
be
you.
recommending your videos? What are
Well,
you doing promoting other people?
I have reviews. I haven't read them all. He's read all of Guy Gavriel K stuff, and
Wow.
I mean, it's impressive. It really
That
is.
is impressive. When someone can read an entire author's backlog, I'm not that kind of reader. I
mean,
hop around too much.
I love George R. R. Martin. I still haven't read everything by him yet.
Really? You have a whole podcast dedicated to him.
I know, and I'm working on a video. I kind of want to make a video about who inspired George R. R. Martin, because it's kind of a joke now. Like people are like, he has so many endorsements on the front of books that are like, this inspired me to write my own series, and I'm
Yeah.
like, well, let's unpack this a little bit and figure out what he took from these authors,
Yeah.
right? Like Maurice Druon, Iron King. It's like a 1954 historical fiction. I read the first few chapters. It wasn't the right time, so I'm going to come back to it. But like, that's one that he has talked about, and I read it and I was like, oh my God, Bobby B back here. Like he's in this book. Like he took this character from this book. This is crazy.
That's so cool.
I love that. I don't know if you're big in that, but if I love an author, I want to know why they write the way they write. And I want to read people who have inspired them. That's always something that's at the, at the forefront of my, what's the word I'm looking for? Priorities.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I think I'm that way with genres. If I love a genre, then I want to read the most formative books in that genre, the things that shaped certain tropes and certain styles. I'm not so much that way with authors, but I've definitely done that with several genres.
Yeah.
And I like to see the first book to do X.
Yeah, I felt that way, when I read Blood in the Mist. It's like pre-Tolkien, it's like, what was out there before we kinda got set on, like, what sells, right?
Mhm.
And then reading some Michael Moorcock this year has been really, eye-opening to me in the absurd, like, influence that he had, and I don't think it's stated enough. So I like that in genres too. I love going back. One I'm really excited to do, and I haven't really talked about this, but I think I'm gonna start reading a little bit more like thriller crime stuff.
Ooh.
And I mean, I know people just light up the chat, but tell me, folks, like, what should I be reading? Because I'm gonna start with Girl in the Dragon Tattoo. I've never read it.
Oh, I've heard good things about that.
I've heard very good things. So I'm actually gonna read that maybe this month if I can. But
Mhm.
it's a genre that I feel kind of drawn to recently for some reason. Um,
Specifically thriller or mystery?
Mystery, thriller, crime. I'm kind of
Yeah.
lumping them all
Crime?
together. Yeah. I think it's because I just watched the documentary Burden of Proof on HBO, which is a true crime documentary, and it is insane and infuriating, like all true crime documentaries are, because there's just like negligence everywhere, and you're just like, I hate everyone. No one did their job. Everyone's lying. Why did you lie even though you're innocent? Why did you make yourself look like a suspect? They spent all these, anyways. Uh, I don't know. It kind of got something. I was like, I would like to see a storyteller, craft a story like this, because
Mhm.
the documentary is actually really well done, and it really dives into perspective, because the brother of this girl that went missing was sure about one thing, like, and I was sure of it through his eyes, and then you get this other perspective and you're like, oh, he's been down the wrong track. It's crazy. So I've been
Mhm.
kind of pulled to that. Like, I want to see a storyteller play with perspective about who done it, but maybe
Mhm.
go a little bit deeper than that too.
So you're a huge fan of Monster. That's like one of your favorite.
Yes, that's my
Yeah.
favorite manga right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's I mean, I definitely see a lot of that passion from
Yes.
that kind of thing.
Yes.
Have you read any of Urasawa's other work?
So I've read volume 1 of 20th Century Boys, and I know you tried it
Mhm.
and you weren't sure, right? I
Mhm.
I loved it. I think it's my favorite first volume of a manga.
Whoa.
I mean, there's a mystery right out of the gate. You see this big robot thing, you're like, "What in the world is that?" And it has, the boyhood friendship stuff that I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
So it's one that I would like to continue. I'm gonna try to read I say second volume, but it's those bind ups, kind of like Monster. I'm hoping to
Mhm.
read that this month if I can.
And you're a big King fan. Have you tried any of his mysteries, like Mr. Mercedes or anything like that?
I haven't. And the thing about King, you've read more King than me, I think, which is
No way.
funny. So my experience with Stephen King is very much me and my dad renting VHSs of his various terrible
That's why you're a fan
adaptations.
of his, because you haven't read enough of his books.
Oh no, my shots fired.
I'm just
Duck.
kidding. A
Duck all
little.
the King stands. Oh, Mohammed, thank you so much for the 7 spot. Very generous of you. Thank you so much. I'll interject this question here. This is a good question. It says, art should comfort the disturbed or disturb the comforted. What do you guys think about this? Love you guys.
Ooh,
I love
comfort
you
the
too.
disturbed or disturb the comforted.
Whew.
What category if you were to say that you're one of those 2, what would you be?
Hmm. I think I like disturb the comforted because I've always had a problem with being comfortable. It's something that bothers me. And
Interesting.
I think it's just because I'm a frazzled dude, and that goes in every form of life. Like, whenever I started to kind of figure out my life and things got a little bit, I don't want to say easier, but more sure. I struggled with that. I struggled
Really?
with
Stability is
yeah, I
hard for
struggled
you?
with I was very nomadic, for almost 10 years.
Me
I was
too.
traveling different towns and doing different things, and the idea of comfort was a blocker on, the next level for me. That's how I thought of
Mhm.
it. So I think disturbing the comforted, and then there's also times where I get really frustrated with the world, especially in the first world, where I feel like things are taken for granted, and I think that
Yeah.
we don't see the privilege that we have for where
Yeah.
we live, and I just want to shake people at times when I'm really angry. So I think that I would disturb the comforted, though there's a lot of value in the other side of that too.
Mhm. Oh, yeah. I agree. I mean, we talked about comfort the disturbed earlier, where we're reflecting on who we once were and seeing a character being able to outgrow that is comforting, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think probably we've both experienced both, but I too am more in the disturb the comfort ed because I'm such an optimistic person, and generally I tend to think that the world is great and people are awesome and everybody wants to be my friend. And so when I read Malazan, I'm like, "Whoa, this is a different way to look at the world."
Well, you're a Joe Abercrombie fan too,
Huge Joe Abercrombie fan.
and
Yeah, absolutely.
that's a different worldview,
That's a
right?
different worldview. And I really like books that come from just a really different perspective because it's like, whoa, darkness. Because I tend to, even if I see darkness, I'm like, but it's gonna be fine. We're all good.
I have the opposite reaction to it. But I go so far down that rabbit hole that I go, well, it's all going to go to crap anyway. So
What's the point?
I can just do what I want and nothing matters. It's perfect.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I like about you. And I like this about Bookborn too, is that I would classify you both as optimists and somebody who does see the bright side and is encouraging. But I like the fact that neither of you really shy away from the other side of that, which Joe Abercrombie's a good example of this. I think he's a really good like mainstream example of a touch of nihilism in a worldview. And there's a lot of people who do say they're optimists and have certain ideas of how the world works, and when they buck up against this, they reject it and say, this isn't something that we should be encouraging.
Yeah,
and that's bothersome to me because as someone who is more on the side of like pessimism and whatnot. The majority of stuff that's been written in fantasy does feel hopeful and does have this optimism that sometimes can feel insulting, if I'm being honest.
Interesting.
And I never complain about that. I that it is what it is kind of thing. And also I like seeing the other side of it because I'm probably wrong. I'm wrong a lot. So I think when I see people kind of buck back against the nihilism stuff, especially with something like Abercrombie, it always rubs me the wrong way. Yeah. I'm like, well, I'm putting up with your world, put up with mine for a little bit. Like, meet me halfway.
No, I agree, Jimmy. I agree. I get that comment a lot when I recommend a book and I'm like, this book is amazing. And then people are like, I strongly disagree with this thing that was said in the book. And I'm like, well, yeah, me too. But I think that that's great to be confronted with something that you strongly disagree with and having to mull it over and think about it and chew on it and then come to your conclusion and still be able to enjoy the art. But it's always surprising to me because I get those comments and I'm like, oh, I'm not endorsing that. I just like the book.
Yeah, there's ideas in this. I engaged with them, but I may not side with them at all.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff about Tolkien's work that I don't vibe with at all.
Sure.
There's tons of it in there. And there's also stuff that I agree with as well. But I still recognize what it is, why people enjoy it. And I think he does a pretty good job of stating his case. Like, I think he does a great job, actually. I think that's obvious, right? And there's good stuff in there. Green is good. I agree. Totally agree with that. So I just love the fact that people like you and Bookborn are willing to see my side of the equation for a little bit and validate that, if that's the right word to use. Did you ever think that you would enjoy something like a Joe Abercrombie? Was that a shock to you?
Yeah. Yeah. Big time. Big time. I think there was a big part of my life, a big portion of my life where my catchphrase was, I don't like the feeling of sad. And so I would just avoid things that made me sad. And then I went to therapy and learned that emotions are good and it's okay to confront them and experience them. So then I started doing that. And it's true. It's great. It's great to see other worldviews and other feelings and emotions. And sometimes it does make me feel stuff. And there are times when I am offended. And that's something that we get to work through.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's something we get to talk about. If we feel like an author mishandled something, then kill her. Let's talk it out.
I had a point of trust that really, really made me angry. Like one of the most.
Tell me. Oh, I bet you can't.
I know I can because I don't think it's a spoiler. It's a story within the story. It doesn't really have much to. I actually think it's supposed to be kind of a gag and play into the story a little bit later. But I think it's terrible. I hate the message it sends.
Was it the poop guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I hated it. Did you hate it? Because let me tell you what.
Hated it. Did you guys talk about it?
No.
She hated it so much, Jimmy.
Oh. I feel so bad. I feel so
Have
much
her back
better.
on. Get her on right now. Text her.
Oh, she's doing Cosmere stuff. There's no way. She's making Cosmere connections for book 4 that's not even out yet. By the way, Bookborn's Tress video is excellent. A bunch of stuff went over my head that I'm glad
she
she pointed
always
out.
does that. She's so
She's
good
very
at that.
thorough. Very,
Yeah.
very thorough. That makes me feel so much better because I mean, we were in Target and I was just like yelling, not at Kelsey, but yelling. And like people are looking and she's like, calm down, just calm down.
I'm gonna call Kelsey. I'm gonna be like, was he yelling at you?
I was very loud in Target. We were looking for these FDA natural popsicle. I don't know. And I was just like, I can't believe he put this in a book. And either he believes it, which makes him a piece of garbage, or he's too stupid to realize that he's putting out this message, which is even worse. Like I was fired up. By the way, I like the book.
She hated it because it was a story about poop.
Oh, no. It has nothing to do with the poo.
Tell me, I can't even remember the moral of
Okay,
it. I just
I'm
remember
gonna
rolling my
paraphrase
eyes at a story about poop.
I'm going to paraphrase the story. This isn't a spoiler for Tress, folks. It's like, it's literally,
Oh, it was worthless.
yeah, worthless to the
It could be
story,
taken out.
which is why it makes me even more mad. And I may be misinterpreting this because I'm sensitive to this type of thing. So if I'm wrong, I'm going to get fired up.
So what was it about classism?
Yes. So essentially, folks, the story that is put here is there's a guy, I can't remember the name of the job, but essentially he goes down into the sewage of the king or under the palace, and he goes through feces and tries to find stuff that was accidentally discarded or possibly digested, and it might be worth money. So it's a way to give money back for the king. Maybe we'll save some money here. And this has been this guy's job for many, many years. And the only thing that he is awarded from this job is a baked potato for dinner. Mm-hmm. And he loves baked potatoes. Baked potatoes he's fine with digging through feces because he loves baked potatoes. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. He loves baked potatoes so much, he starts asking for a second baked potato. And they start giving it to him. And he could not be a happier guy. So one day he walks into dinner and the 2 baked potatoes aren't there. They're serving cornbread. And this guy hates nothing worse than cornbread. He's like, I hate cornbread, but he sticks it out for a couple weeks to the point now where he's like, can we get the baked potatoes back? And they're like, we can't, we're sorry. So he asks for an audience with the king. Takes a bit. He gets an audience with the king. He goes in and says, hey, king, is there a chance that we could get back to the baked potatoes? I don't like the cornbread. And the king essentially says, well, I love baked potatoes too, but unfortunately you asked for 2 baked potatoes. And then everyone started asking for 2 baked potatoes and we over-farmed the potatoes. I think there might've been something wrong with the crops too. But essentially was laying the blame on the fact that this worker wanted 2 potatoes. And the whole moral of the story is supposed to be that a little action or request can have big consequences, which has to be the most tone-deaf way of illustrating that point I have ever read. And I'm not, listen, guys, I like Brandon Sanderson. Okay. I like the book. What that tells me is you will take your lot and you will enjoy it. And you better never ask the ruling class for anything more than that. Because if you do, you are the reason why the system would downfall. And the ruling class knows what's best for you. They know how much you should eat. They know how much you should be paid. Never buck back against that system because you might be the cause of everyone else's misery. I think that's a garbage message. I think it's a trash message. I hate it.
I can see why you would take that away from there. I think it's even made worse by the fact that he was doing a service job and one that many people look down on, and he was essentially ostracized because of that. And even the king wouldn't meet with him unless they met outdoors. And the guy was downwind from the king because of his service job. He was very stinky. And so he was generally just like, oh, not him, not him. And then he was also the downfall of potatoes simply because he asked for a second portion.
What a... Does that resonate? When someone hears that, does anyone go, that is so true? No, nobody says that. And if you do, guess what? You're the problem. You're the ruling class. Oh, bah. Woo, fired me up.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think I really just didn't even think about that. I just thought it was a stupid story that didn't need to be there. And so I just I read it, rolled my eyes and moved on.
I read it twice because the first time I said, this is pointless. Why is this in the story? So there must be a reason. So I went back and read it again and I read it closely and I was thinking about what it meant. And I was like, this is trash. I was like, this is literally the worst thing he's ever written. I was so mad. Again, I actually did enjoy the book. It was a good time. The
Uh-huh,
Cosmere
uh-huh.
connections were really cool.
You've got me thinking though, Jimmy. I'm glad you brought this up because I really didn't put two thoughts into this story, but you're right that I totally see that. I don't even know if interpretation, like that's what it said. That's what it was.
It's either the worst example of all time of a small, like a butterfly effect,
Butterfly, yeah.
or that is a conscious message that he wanted to put in the book, and I have a problem with
Nah.
that. Like I have, and I don't think I'll tell you what, I don't think that he
Nah.
meant to. I
I
think he
I I
just
think
wanted.
that the percentage chance of him consciously saying, "Shut up, sit down, working class,"
It does not seem like him.
the percentage chance is maybe point 0.1. Like, there's no way Sanderson he tries so hard to listen to people, to be attentive, and to learn and grow. I just don't.
I,
I think it was just a
I was
fumble.
shocked. I was
Yeah.
shocked. Like, and I just was like, man, you should have just went to whatever other example that you had. Um,
Yeah.
so that was tough because other than that, I thought the book was a lot of fun.
So what did you rate the book?
I rated it 3 out of 5.
You did?
Yeah.
Was the poop story a big reason?
Yeah, I would have given it a 4 if that story wasn't in there, to
Yeah.
be honest. And another thing I will say is I thought Tress relied a lot on the Cosmere connections for it to feel like worth it in some ways
Sure.
for me, because
Interesting.
the idea of the story works for me, but I don't necessarily love the way that he told it or the way he paced it. And I know we talked about pacing, but there were times
Mhm.
where I felt like we were just like boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom.
Mm.
But it's a 400 page, it's 360 something page book. I mean, that's plenty of time to maybe. It was like the things he fleshed out. I don't know if were the things I wanted to be fleshed out. I kind of wanted
If
the
he had
bigger
taken out
moments.
the classism story, could
I
have
would have
fleshed
been.
other things out more.
I'd have been like 4 stars. Had a great time. Moving on.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that book now, though.
Yeah, it will forever induce rage in you.
Dude, I was furious. I
Yeah.
was so mad. And there had
Yeah.
been some stuff in the news that had upset me that day. And I felt like it coincided with that. And I was just like, this is the problem. No one,
People don't think. They don't think, man.
I am so timid to get outraged because I
Yeah.
always feel like I'm missing something. Even now, after I do that, I'm feeling like maybe I interpreted it wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe I did. But that was something I could not hold back. It's the most angry a book has made me in a long time. Like the last time I had, well, I shouldn't say a long time because Kindred also made me infuriated for totally different reasons.
Totally different. Yeah. The
Yeah.
right kind of infuriated for
Yeah,
that one.
right. You should be mad when you read
Yeah.
that. But when you're reading Tress and you're like, oh, spores and water, then all of a sudden
Fun
you're like,
adventure.
you're at a 10 on Roid Rage. You're like, this is terrible.
Roid rage.
But I kind of like that it made me mad. Like I was glad. I don't know if I would have recognized that 3 years
Yeah.
ago, so I was glad I read it
So
twice in some ways.
you like Discworld, eh?
I've only read a little bit of Discworld and I enjoyed what I've read, but I'm not Alan levels of dedicated to the series. And I know you're enjoying it quite a bit as well.
Yeah. Well, the reason I ask is because the one of the main characters in the City Watch arc, which is Alan's favorite, is someone. There's a lot of classism explored in that
Mhm.
arc, and that's a big reason why Alan likes it so much. So I think you would like it too.
I definitely would because Alan is definitely the spearhead for the justice movement, but I am behind him with the banner.
Yeah.
You know,
You're his shield.
yes, it upsets me greatly when I see injustices in the world, and I feel like that's why true crime bothers me so much because a lot of these things are like unsolved. I think that's maybe why I wanted to read a mystery crime thriller because I want a resolution. I want the bad guy to go down. Okay,
Yeah.
I need a happy ending for once.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I would love the Discworld books, and I need to read them. My problem is, and this is a bias that I shouldn't have, but I do have, is that sometimes that when I think of Discworld, I think of only the humor, and I'm like, too light of a read right now. And I know that's not true.
Oh.
Like I know that's not true. Pratchett weaved in themes; he was masterful at it. He's been an inspiration to a ton of people. So I need to beat that bias. And
I do think that you specifically would like Discworld just because, yes, it has the lightness, it has the absurdity, it has all the goofiness. But in the absurdity, characters are saying something in just the right way that makes you go, "What? Hold on. I need to reevaluate how I think about that." And
yes,
so he uses the humor as a vehicle to talk about some serious stuff. And City Watch is great for that.
I mean, one of the best things a book can do, or a series or whatever, is recontextualize prior thoughts, feelings, perspectives. Like, it is my favorite thing that a book can do. I love getting that twist, kind of like what I talked about in that documentary. Like, you just get this shift and you're like, you see everything from a different perspective. You start questioning things.
Oh, yeah. I was
To
like,
me,
what
that
documentary? The one that I talked about? You've already watched it? Of course you haven't.
I have it up on the second monitor over here. But
Oh, good. You'll
No,
like it, I bet.
I definitely will. I love documentaries. I'll be honest. It can
There's
be
a
about
sweet old
anything.
man, the naturalist, who I don't remember his actual title. He's a sweet old man. You're gonna love him.
I do love sweet old men that
I
have a lot
know.
to teach.
You've never told me that, but I just know that about you.
It is true. If there's an old, wiser character that's passing on knowledge or just there to kind of encourage you, I'm in.
There's a part of that doc, I've watched it twice now, that makes me weep. And if I recount it to someone, which I have many times, I weep. We'll talk about it. You'll message me when you finish it.
All right, I'm in.
And then I will weep. I'll be crying in your ear.
Just crying on Boxer holding.
And then he went into the forest.
Whoa, spoilers.
I
Spoilers.
know, right? They're in a rainforest and he walked into the trees. It's a spoiler.
Well, you're gonna get me to watch a documentary, and you have definitely been a good encouragement to get into One Piece, which I started reading. Can you give the folks, as I know 20 people just clicked off, could you give them, as you know, for mostly fantasy readers here, an elevator pitch for One Piece? Like, can you make the statement of it?
Can I turn off my camera and go turn the light on real quick? I'm losing the
I
sun.
am so okay with that.
Okay, thanks. 1 second.
This episode of Chatting with Nuts is brought to you by Hymns.
Can you turn off my camera? It's not letting me do it.
Let me see. I can remove you from the stream. Boom. Perfect. This episode of Chatting with Nuts is brought to you by Hymns. We care about wellness not only in life, but in the bedroom. I'm just kidding. I'm not sponsored by Hymns, but Bend the Knee is, which is great. And Christopher, yes, I have a One Piece arc that's beginning. Dudes Talking Manga YouTube channel. You can check it out. I didn't even realize you were sitting in the dark, by the way. Like, I'm lasered in right now.
Really? That's great. Yeah, I was losing, the sun's going down and I was using natural light.
I was lasered in.
Good. I'm so entertaining. I'm a great guest.
That's it for sure. It's not the cocaine. No, I'm just kidding. No cocaine. I'm
Is
kidding.
that Jimmy?
Don't strike me, YouTube. Don't strike. So let me make the case for One Piece for people who are fans of epic fantasy.
Oh, okay. For people who are fans of epic fantasy, everything's connected and everything matters. The tiniest little detail that you were like, oh, cool, we saw a whale. Neat. It's like, no, it all ties together. It all matters. And it's one of those series where at first it's like a lighthearted fun time and then it hits you with emotions. And then you're like, oh, okay, wow, this is deeper than I thought it was. And then things start tying back together and you're like, oh, I should have paid more attention early on because, oh my goodness, it's all planned out. And it's so fun to watch those connections fall into place and to theorize and to look at the tiniest little detail and say, that matters. I don't know how, but I'm watching you.
It does get your conspiracy tinfoil brain cooking. Like the thing I've had the most fun with, and I've read over 100 of the chapters now, and I just finished the Alabasta saga, which is the second saga, is just trying to come up with what's going on, because there's the throwaway lines, and this is something I love about A Song of Ice and Fire as well. Like, George will just throw a line at you and you're like, that's going to pay off in 3,000 pages. And you're like, what? One Piece feels like it has that element, and that's my favorite thing about epic fantasy. Like, that is how you get me hook, line, and sinker. Get me in with the mystery of it, or just a wacky world building that it has as well.
It does. It has wacky world building, but it also has such intentional. Like, it looks wacky, and then you move on to the next island, and then you realize that the ecosystem of that island actually is why this island works the way it does, and it's so fun.
Yeah, and there's something about being a pirate, and I have come around to boats. Okay, I was not a big fan of boats. I've been saying this for a long time, but I read The Scar by China Miéville and some other stuff. Obviously, Red Seas Under Red Skies as well. And I'm starting to realize that that's just a stupid bias that I've had. I didn't like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, so I've just always been like, I don't like pirates. But I don't think that's the case. I think I might like nautical fantasy a lot more than I thought.
Yeah, you better.
Well, you want to be a pirate. That's like
our friendship hinges on you liking nautical fantasy.
What is it about pirates in you? Because it's not just Luffy. Like, you love pirates.
I do. I know. I don't know, man. There's just, I can't even explain it. It's just this weird thing where I want to know everything about every historical pirate. I want to know their legends. Like, did you know that Blackbeard, after he got his head cut off, his body swam around the ship 8 times before it sunk?
Wait,
That's obviously not true, but there are legends that say that. And I love that. I love that those exist. I don't know. It's they're criminals, Jimmy. They're bad guys. I look into the things they did and I'm like, praise the Lord, I was not on that ship because I'm a woman and that would have been bad for me. So
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, these are not good people. And yet I can't stop reading about them. I can't stop reading up on true pirates or fictional pirates. I want the romanticized swashbuckling, jumping from ship to ship, getting in sword fights. And I want the real gritty, oh, they tortured people, man.
Oh, I mean, it was nasty.
It was
Like,
nasty.
yeah, there's a reason why the skull and crossbones wasn't looked upon favorably. I mean, people freaked out when they saw it.
It was not good. But like, then you've got Bonnie. Do you know about Bonnie? Do you know
I
about
don't
Anne
know.
Bonny?
Is that Bonnie and Clyde? Am I off?
She was a pirate. And it just, there were also amazing, or Qingji, there were amazing female pirates that also did horrible things. And I don't know what's wrong with me, but pirates are so cool.
Do you think there's a part of you that wishes you were capable of doing horrible things?
Yeah. No.
It's all coming back around.
It's all been an act this whole time. She's not nice.
Who is the most
No.
famous female pirate of all time?
Qingji. Oh, famous or successful?
Give me both. Because I'd like to know why the most successful one isn't the most famous. That's a strange thing to me.
No, I don't know who the most famous female pirate would be.
Okay, we'll go with the most successful.
Because women in history, you're kidding? Nobody knows who they are.
Really?
But so Qingji, she was a Chinese pirate, and she commanded more fleets than any other pirate that we know of in history. Thousands. And she was brutal. So a lot of pirates had the pirates code, which was not a universal thing. They had their own individual codes, and they would choose what would fly on their ship and what wouldn't. And Qingji, she was ruthless. So she was like, all right, we're not going to have in-crew fighting. We're not going to take female pirate. If we pillage another pirate ship, we are not taking female pirates captive. And we will not have in-ship breeding. Like, she was like, these are our rules. And if you defied a rule, if you pushed back, if you said, I don't know about that, beheading, instant beheading. There were so many beheadings. And and people fell in line. She's cool. I like her. I want her to be my aunt.
And is this the book that you read recently about the female pirate?
So no, yes, the Deepest Sea, Red as the Sky.
Yes.
So that was based off of her life. I had read up on her loads before that, and the book itself didn't actually say this is Qingji's story. But in chapter 1, we were already doing everything that Qingji did when she first became a pirate, and I was like, this is her story. And then I found out that this is it was just another way to say her name, is the translation that she went with. So yeah, it's amazing.
I saw someone, Manyface Dylan says, Merphy, too bad you don't watch TV because you would love Black Sails. I've heard that.
So many people have told me that. Yeah, loads of people have told me that, and I've pulled it up, but I haven't watched it. I don't know that I will, if I'm being honest, but it sounds amazing. I just can't sit still and watch a show. I can't do it.
Philip J says there was a pirate called Mary Reed, perfect booktube pirate.
Yeah, so Mary, actually, she sailed with Anne Bonny, the one that I was talking about that I like so much. They sailed together for a while.
Hayden knew
it.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah,
Very
they
cool.
sailed together for a long time. They were really good friends. They died really close together too.
Whoa, Christopher Warman said he worked on Black Sails. You're an author and you're working on shows? This is crazy.
Tell us more.
Girl bossing. That is a new level of girl bossing whenever you're just beheading anybody who speaks out against you.
Yeah.
The original. I wonder if that was the motivation in A Song of Ice and Fire for Nymeria and the 10,000 Ships. because Nymeria like
Ooh.
leads this crusade of not even really a crusade, but she basically escapes all the slavery and everything that's happened in Valyria, and she takes 10,000 ships and she goes and just lands in Westeros, and it is like all hell breaks loose. Nymeria is actually one of the most badass epic characters George has ever created, and she just has a few lines in the history book.
Interesting. So yeah, Qingji, we don't know that much about her other than just her
Yeah.
legend.
And I know George is a student of history. Like, he loves all types of history. So I wonder if that might have been his motivation to create that
Yeah,
character.
very possibly.
It's actually one of the shows they're talking about adapting just as an original thing. Because again, it's kind of just a couple throwaway lines in a history book. But it was one of the pilots that they wanted to pitch to HBO. And I think, based on like what we know about Nymeria and what she accomplished, especially in the time where Valyria was like falling, like I think she would be bigger than Daenerys. Like, I think people would be naming their kid Nymeria.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So when you were describing, that's the first thing I thought of, because I can't ever.
Was she a pirate?
I don't know. See, that's the thing. I don't know if you would name
I
her
wouldn't watch it.
pirate. I wouldn't watch it. There will be naval things happening. Is that good
Okay.
enough?
All right. No, yeah, it is. Anything nautical has my interest. I still won't watch it, but I will be more interested.
All right. That's fair. As long as you give it a shot, I could be okay with it.
I wouldn't.
So you don't watch TV shows, but are you going to do videos for One Piece live action?
Yeah.
I feel like you have to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So my plan with the live action, I'll probably do a video for the first episode, and I'll probably do a video for when it all wraps up. But I try to be really intentional about balancing books and manga. So I try to do like 1-and-1 back and forth, and I don't want the show to end up adding to that, so that it ends up not being balanced. So I'll probably just do live streams for the episodes of the live action.
That's what I did. I did the first when House of the Dragon came on. I was obviously very excited, and I did the differences between Fire and Blood in the show. But it quickly became obvious by episode 2 that, you know, this Cliff Notes history, there's a lot of changes. Like, there's going to be a lot of differences, and I don't know if it was all that interesting. So I switched to live streams, and those are some of my favorite things I've done. Like, the excitement that people had for it, even people coming in and having cons and like getting to talk it out with them. Like, it was a lot of fun. And I can't imagine how big this show is going to be. Like, I can't imagine.
Oh yeah, the live action.
Oh, it's
and there will be. I mean, already people have decided that it's going to be the worst thing that's ever been created, as well as people that are like, this is going to be amazing. I'm one of those people, obviously. So I'm super excited, but I know there's going to be plenty of people that'll come in with their negatives, and I'm excited to talk that out, especially as someone who doesn't watch TV. So there's going to be a lot of production issues that people will have that I won't catch.
Yeah.
So it'd be cool to talk that out.
Yeah, I'm always coming from like a position of story. So like when people are like, the CGI was off, I'm like, I don't really know what that means.
Sure.
Like, I don't know anything about CGI. I don't even know what it stands for, to be honest.
I don't either.
Yeah. I read books.
I'm the same way though. I'm all about characters and story. So like, let's talk about, did it work? And I'm very much not that character wouldn't say that line. Well, maybe they would in the live action. That's a different character. So
that's correct. It's an adaptation. Yes.
Right. Like, it has to change, especially an absurdist story like One Piece. It has to be different.
Connor says Merphy's going to nitpick the heck out of the lighting and frame rates.
I'll just make stuff up. I'll just be like, in my expert opinion.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, exactly. With the glasses.
I was shocked because I saw like a lot of negativity when it first dropped, which I think everyone wants to be first to say, I knew it was bad. Like, but you and Alan, which Alan's been reading One Piece for 20 years.
Yeah, Alan. Yeah, he's a longtime fan.
So it's like, and you came to it a couple years ago, and seeing you guys be positive about it, I'm like, oh, cool. Because I don't have an opinion. I'll be honest. I watched the trailer once. I was like, could be good, could be bad. We'll have to see. Trailers are deceiving. I think trailers
that's true.
Deceiving. Like the Wheels Time trailer was a banger.
I've watched so much behind the scenes content. Like,
really,
anything.
You're all in.
Anything that cast has done. If they played Heads Up, I watched it. If they tried some snacks, I watched it. Like, if they reacted to the trailer for the first time, I watched it 6 times and I cried every time. And then I cried again when I recounted what that was like for Corey. I'm in.
Oh, I love it. Even whenever things are adapted, obviously I'm excited for the One Piece adaptation, but there's other adaptations that have come out that I haven't been super high about because like I'm just not invested. But it is, I feel a sense of joy watching other people be super excited about their
Yeah,
favorite thing being adapted. Like
me
Wheel
too.
of Time's never really been my thing, but like watching people get excited about the show and people who are really excited for season 2, even I'm just like, that's awesome. Like, because you only get that usually once in a lifetime. And
Mhm.
you got to take it for what it is. And then there's also the danger of that thing, the adaptation taking over the conversation of the written piece.
Sure.
Right. I mean, we've seen
Sure.
that with the Song of Ice and Fire and Game of Thrones. I don't think that'll be the case with One Piece because I think like there's already so many people who have been reading that for decades that there's no way that that source material ever gets overtaken. Like, let's
I
say
think
they
the
go,
only way it could is if it's like an Avatar live action kind of scenario where it's so bad that it becomes the iconic version, which I don't think that that's what this will be.
yeah, I don't, it would be hard to top that. The only thing I can think of
Oh, I
is
meant
like,
Avatar: The Last Airbender, not Blue People, just to be
yeah,
super
I know
clear.
what you meant. The Last
Okay.
Airbender. I mean, it's like when they did Dragon Ball movie. It's like that level of
Yeah,
embarrassment.
I never saw it, but I will. When I finish reading it, I'll go
Are you
ahead and watch it.
are you gonna go into Dragon Ball Z as well? Because like that's what I really want for you. Like
It would be
Dragon Ball.
impossible to know. No, yes. My plan, if Dragon Ball if I jump off Dragon Ball, I'll at least try Dragon Ball Z because I know that that's a lot of people love Dragon Ball Z, but I'm still having a good time with Dragon Ball despite its flaws.
Oh yeah, Dragon Ball is fun. Like when I think of Dragon Ball, I think of having fun. I also think that the fights were kind of cooler because they were a little bit lower stakes back then.
Mm,
Whereas Dragon Ball Z is like epic.
yeah.
Like there's moments that like I get I'm a grown man and I get chills thinking about things from the Frieza saga. Like I really
Yeah.
do. And if I had watched it, and this is the hard part, how do I relay that to people who haven't watched it when they were 12 years old, trying to go Super
Yeah.
Saiyan, right? Giving themselves a hernia. That was me. I was trying to turn
Yeah.
my hair blonde and do the thing, right? So it's like it's just it's hard to quantify that to an adult that doesn't have the nostalgia
I
factor.
know, but Jimmy, it's me. I'm so excitable.
But I don't know if like ripped dudes with 12 packs punching each other and having fire. Like I
Good
don't
point. Good
know.
point. Good point.
You know what I mean? All
Right
right.
now, I just really like the stupid humor. Like I love stupid humor.
Well, then you'll be fine. You'll be And if you're reading it, you're better off because you won't have all the filler episodes of people getting driver's license and stupid stuff.
So when right before I started the manga, some of my patrons made a compilation of clips, and a lot of it was filler. A lot of it was fan stuff. Have you listened to Bald This Way? Because it's my new favorite song.
No.
Oh, I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you right now. It's like, you know how YouTube, when you go into like the normal YouTube, not your subscriptions, it's like, hey, you watched this once. You should probably watch it again, right? Bald This Way is always there because I never don't click it. I'll send it to you right now. You can watch it later, along with
The
the
documentary.
documentary. I'm gonna make you watch so many things. I won't watch anything, but I'll make you watch so many
You
things.
are very influential. I will give
Thanks.
you this. But I also am glad that you've taken some influence from me and Joanna telling you to read Stoner because I think that's going to happen at some point.
Yeah, so when you guys bullied me into that, I checked it out from the library immediately, and then I text Philip and I said, "Hey, I heard they're making you read it too, so we can chat." And he said that he is going to read it while he's away. So he's going to leave it to the end of his trip so that it's fresh on his mind when he gets home. So I put it
Okay.
off so that it's fresh on my mind too.
Well,
I was going to ask you if you wanted to be in the chat. Do you want to be in the chat?
of course I would like to be in the chat.
Sweet.
It's one of my favorite books of all time.
Joanna, if you're still here, I was going to ask you too, but I'll text you later.
Someone's asked me if I tried Hunter x Hunter. So I watched the first 2 episodes, and it's actually probably near the top of my list. Merphy, you covered Hunter x Hunter at one point, right?
Freaking love Hunter x Hunter.
Really?
Oh, yes. Yeah. The beginning's very deceptive because it's very lighthearted and chill, but
Yeah.
no, Jimmy, the Chimera Ant arc, nothing has affected me in that way. Not to the same level. Other things affected me very strongly, but in that way, Chimera Ant arc, it is on a shelf by itself. That's really good.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I've heard it's amazing, and I've heard it's one of those shows that grows into itself, and
Mm.
then it becomes something a little bit different. And I'm willing to give that a go, especially uh, for the fact that I think I'm in the mood for shonen right now. Like I'm
Uh-huh.
just really into that, and probably because of One Piece, right? And then looking back at Dragon Ball stuff because you're going through it, and I'm like, man, I kind of miss this format. It's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. And even in the beginning, it's Hunter x Hunter is wonderful. It's so charming and fun. But then it does. It shapes up into something else.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's one that I'm going to give it attention to. I don't know if I need to watch it or read it. Do you know which one's the preferred method?
Read it.
Read. Okay.
It's me.
Okay. Okay. You know, sometimes people have opinions on these things.
Oh yeah, I'm sure everybody has an opinion on this. I won't be the one.
Um, Sam's asking me to console him for DNF in the Wheel of Time. Listen, here's the best thing about Wheel of Time is that even if you don't like the Wheel of Time, it's still fun to hear people talk about the Wheel of Time. Like I enjoy people talking about Wheel of Time more than I enjoy Wheel of Time. So just read all the spoilers and then go watch content about it and watch other people like gush about it. And you'll be like, man, did I read the same thing? And then you'll try it again and you'll still not like it. But you'll know. And that's
How
the beauty.
how long did you give it before you DNF'd it? Just out of
Uh,
curiosity. I won't
I,
try to convince you to read more. I'm just curious.
I've tried to start book 6's prologue like 8 times and
Uh-huh.
I can't do it. I can't do it. There are things about the series I really like. And then there are things about the series that I find unbearable.
Mm,
And I
the
struggle with
women.
those. Yes, and I don't like Robert Jordan's writing. That's another thing. Like
Fair
he has
enough.
like little ticks and stuff, and he just
Yeah.
says things awkwardly at times where I'm like, why did you say it like that?
All the spankings. Was it all the spankings that
Right,
did you in?
you're damn
There are
right.
many, many spankings.
That was terrible. I mean, it was legitimate garbage. Like it was so bad. I hated that. But here's the thing: there are some, even in the first 5 books of Wheel of Time, there are some of the most epic fantasy moments. I mean, it's some really cool stuff.
High
So
highs, low lows. That series definitely is one of those.
yes, and will I finish it one day? Probably. I have all the mass market paperbacks back there, and I'll never get rid of them because I love those covers, and I don't see them printing them as much anymore, or at all. So one day I will probably finish it because I love fantasy and I feel like I need to, so then I can properly talk about the series. And I've heard that Brandon Sanderson's part of the series is rather good. So I would
Mm.
like to see. I'd like to see Sanderson's take on Wheel of Time. I know that might be heresy to a lot of people, but I'd like to see Sanderson do Wheel of Time.
Yeah, I mean, Robert Jordan was a huge inspiration for him, and you
Mhm.
can see that. And this was also really young, at like the beginning of Sanderson's career that he took on Wheel of Time. So you can still see that inspiration so heavily in when he takes it over. I think he did.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can see it in Way of Kings. I've been going through that chapter by chapter on the Lost in Roshar podcast, and the effort he puts in to describe different cultures or different areas' clothing is very reminiscent of Robert Jordan. Is one of the best things that Jordan did for his world building to make things feel different, like
Yeah.
really be different.
Yeah.
And I joke all the time about like the fashion in Roshar, but there's fashion in Roshar, and I think that's great. I think that's good detail to put into the story, and I actually like the way Sanderson goes about describing it more than Robert Jordan. So,
Heresy.
I know. You can only fold your arms so many times. You know?
Underneath your bosom. What is it? Underneath her chest. What?
Yeah, I think it's bosom. I was on iWizard for a discussion the other night, and he was like, what is it about fantasy? And I said, I think it's the male gaze. I just love the male gaze. It makes me feel good. Just decades of bosoms is really enlightens me as an individual.
Oh, couldn't agree more. I love when women don't have a personality or strength or character trait or purpose. It's my fave.
The character trait is that they're a woman.
Or that they're very, very insufferable.
Insufferable. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to plug my camera in real quick because I forgot to plug it in. So be entertaining.
Oh no. But at least put a comment on the screen. Da 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 da. Jazz hands. This is going terribly, Jimmy. So anyway, I was telling him that he needs to start trying. Okay. People would appreciate if he would just start trying. Oh, hey, Jimmy.
The viewers went up while I was gone. I don't know how to.
I really don't think so.
I don't know how I feel about that, folks. What are you guys trying to tell me here? Jeez, jeez, a whiz. Yes, so I wanted to talk to you about something very specific tonight.
And
And
you waited until an hour and 45 minutes.
yeah, I wanted to get you nice and warmed up, comfortable before I
I wanted
threw
to
this
make
at
sure
you.
that everybody was tired of us and left first.
Yes, exactly. Can you just explain to people, because I get asked this question a lot, like why manga? Is it because there's more people watching manga content? And I just always say it's because I like storytelling, and it's just a different form of storytelling. But can you explain the bridge between these two things of books and manga?
Explain the bridge.
Yeah, because a lot of people won't give manga a shot, and
Uh-huh.
I think the two are more related than they seem.
Oh, I mean, they're both books. They're both stories. They're both characters. Like, they're super different, Jimmy. They're so different. They're
They
totally
are,
different.
but I'm trying to encourage the
But that's a
crossover.
big part of what makes it so great because you're still getting incredible stories, but you're getting it in a totally different format, and it's engaging totally different pieces of storytelling rather than having to build the walls up yourself. You're given the framework, but you have to create the story. The walls are built for you, which means that the narrative can drive and their faces can show you what they're feeling rather than having to have it described. And so it's just something different. And they're both awesome. And they both provide incredible methods of storytelling, but totally different ways. So you're still reading, but you're reading in a completely different. It's kind of like, okay, so you love a movie. That's killer. Go to a play. Do you love the play too? It's a completely different medium and both engage your creative it does something to you in a
Yeah.
totally different way, but it's giving you something worthy of your time, but differently.
Yeah, worthy of the time is the takeaway for me from that, because there are I think this does happen like with manga slash anime, is that it's kind of considered lighthearted or silly, which I've had that preconceived notion about a lot of stuff in the medium. But there's some really good, and I would even maybe argue important stories and themes in manga. And
Absolutely.
it has been a pleasure going through the first arcs of One Piece and identifying the themes and talking about them on a deeper level. And they're there. I'm not having to grasp at straws. It's there and it's strong. And the best part is, if you don't care, you don't have to engage in it, because it's also just entertaining. So it has that mix of keeping the story and teaching a lesson in some ways, as well as having the thrills and the wows.
Yeah.
Um,
I
and
think that's true for books too. The
certainly,
themes are
yeah,
there. You can engage or you can't. I think the thing with the books and manga discussion is that both provide, in my opinion, all the same stuff. You want characters, you got characters. You want a compelling story, you got a compelling story. You want an awesome world, you've got that. You want themes, you've got that. Everything it provides, just in a different way. Maybe one of those things you don't like. Okay, you're not wrong for that. But if you want to give it a go, you might as well, because it provides just as much depth, just in a different kind of way.
yes, definitely. And we know how it feels when people look down on the fantasy genre and we clutch our pearls and yell till our face turns red. And sometimes I feel like I see that towards manga.
Oh, that was a very polite way of saying people absolutely look down their noses at manga.
Yes, and I'm not saying everybody has to like it, but
No, they don't.
to me, it's just as viable. I really do.
I think we're entering manga scene when manga is way more acceptable. The people
That's
who have
100%
been
true.
Yeah, the people who have been in it their whole lives, they've been bullied. Like, people have always looked down their noses at comics, manga, graphic novels. It's always been the lesser medium to a lot of people. And we are in it at a time where, yeah, there's some
That's
snobbery,
right.
but I
Yeah.
mean, generally it's fine.
Yes.
Generally it's fine. And I'm grateful for that, but I also there's a part of me that feels a little bit guilty because obviously I want to defend it because it is an amazing medium and I want people to give it a go. But also, like, people have been beat up over this way more than I ever will be.
Alan told me that he used to just get swirlies, just head dunked into the toilet, and they would just shove his
Really?
One Piece volumes in there, and yeah, it was a mess. Um,
Hateful.
I know it does annoy Alan quite a bit though, because he's like, "Listen, I went through the persecution 20 years
I
ago,"
know. I
um,
know.
and that's fair. Uh, I would even say that that was the case for a lot of fantasy books back in the day too.
Sure.
There's been a bit of a swing in the other direction, and maybe it's because of things just being more available in the West. I think that might have something to do with it, but also just pop culture. Stranger Things made D&D cool again.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think just nerd culture is cooler now. It's fine to be a nerd now.
yeah. Do you think
And there
that's
will
about
always be people who look down on nerds. Like
certain?
gatekeeping is a thing, people are snobs, whatever. But and it's okay not to like something, but I think that there's a lot more people that are being open and are willing to try it. I mean, I get comments all the time of people either from the book community saying, "Wow, I tried manga for the first time and it's amazing." And people from the manga community saying, "I haven't read a book since I was in school, but now I do. Now I am, and it's amazing." And that's why I mean, I've considered splitting my channel a million times just because of that friction. It's very annoying. But comments like that are like, no, I'm doing it right. This is the way, and not that you're doing it wrong, Jimmy, but like, this is right for me. Like, I made the right call. I'm sticking with it. If I could do it all over again, maybe I would split it because it would probably cause a lot less friction for me if I had split it. People would
People get
stop
upset.
yelling at me.
People get
But
upset with
like,
you.
what's that?
Do you get people upset with you?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Are you kidding me? Yes. But at the end of the day, there is a bridge that's happening, and I think that's killer. I think that's awesome.
I agree. Yeah, I think that it's worth maybe any of that friction whenever you get someone to crossover and then they find a new story that they love. Cause like that, there's no better feeling than when someone comes to you and says, I read this, I love this, thank you so much. That's the best, absolute best thing about making videos about silly stories.
Yeah.
It is that connection that we seek. Annette had a really good question. Said, will or have you guys ever read comics like Western comics? So I am reading Saga very slowly, and I'm
How far are
halfway.
you?
I'm on volume 3, and
Okay.
I like it quite a bit.
I need motivation to start. Maybe I'll start it and make you buddy read it with me.
I wonder how you'll like it. I'm actually, no, I'm very curious. I would love to hear your take on it because humor's a weird thing, right? And I know you said you like dumb humor. I know you don't like gross humor.
No.
I don't think the humor is gross, but it's definitely a little bit more adult.
Mm.
I'd say. I feel like it's like an R-rated Star Wars, and someone's gonna get mad about that. But I don't mean that in a disparaging way. But I would be very curious to see what you think about it. Really, the biggest problem with me is I bought the big bind up, and it's really hard to read.
I have the big bind up too.
It's really hard to hold. I
Yeah.
know that sounds stupid, but I think that's what keeps me from ripping through it because I loved the first 2 volumes. I thought it was great. And then I'm also halfway through Gideon Falls, which I was all fired up about. And then like everyone in existence told me that the ending sucks. So I just slowed my roll. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, the beginning, crazy good, right? Yeah, the ending, terrible.
Oh, I hate it when people do that. Just let me experience it and have opinions.
You know, and I kind of asked for it a little bit, so it might
Did
because
you?
I was
Okay.
thinking like, why isn't more people talking about Gideon Falls? And like, because the ending's terrible. And I'm like, oh,
Oh.
okay, gotcha. But I'm curious to see how I feel because I'm a lot more forgiving of endings than other people. That's like my toxic trait as a reader is that people are like, this ending ruined the story, and I'm like, it's fine. So I definitely have intentions of reading Western comics, but haven't dove in just as much as I have with manga. What about you, Merphy?
No, I haven't either. I'm definitely open to it, and I have a stack of comics. Like I really want to read Sandman. I love Neil Gaiman.
Same here. I watched the first episode of the show and thought it was dope.
Oh, really? I haven't
Yeah.
even done that. But I did read the first 2 volumes of Sandman, and I really enjoyed it and just didn't continue it. So I definitely want to read more. I just haven't yet.
Yeah, and I feel like Sandman is iconic. Like it is so. I mean, a lot of people say it's Gaiman's best work, so I feel like I have to try it out because I like Neil Gaiman. I've only read Ocean at the End of the Lane. Is that right? Or End of the
Did
Street?
you love it?
Oh yeah, I loved it.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh,
That was
okay.
my introduction to him.
Yeah, same here. So, and I also read Good Omens with Terry Pratchett, which I
Okay.
enjoyed. But I loved Ocean at the End of the Lane. The atmosphere of it again, and there's something about a boy coming back to its hometown and seeing
Yeah.
things the way it is.
Neil Gaiman does atmosphere. He does it.
He's also, I enjoy listening to that man talk, or like he writes the best forwards, because he's like George R. R. Martin. Every book is his favorite book.
Everybody's like George R. R. Martin to you.
I see George R. R. Martin in everything I do. that is a sad existence. I see that little man with his white beard and conductor hat, and I'm like, that's it. That's the whole of me.
Did you see that Dom had him on his channel? They did a book club together.
Yeah, I was jealous. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a little jealous. No, I the fact that George does any interviews at all, I love. And I love that's another one of those authors. I love listening to him talk. I love listening to Stephen King talk, but I won't, because he spoils all of his books. All the time.
Really?
Oh yeah,
That's
never watch
so
a talk.
funny.
I was like, yeah, the end of Christine when this happens, and you're just like, wait, what? Chill, dude. Relax.
He just assumes everybody's read all 1,000 of his books.
I feel like he's like, the ending's not good anyway, so who cares?
That's hilarious. Oh, it's amazing.
There's such a good conversation between George Martin and him, and George just looks at him and goes, how in the F do you write so fast? And Stephen King's like, I don't know. George's like, I
feel like he has to have had that conversation with Brandon too.
Oh, definitely. I think a lot of people. I think Patrick Rothfuss talked about asking Sanderson that, and Sanderson said that he was a compulsive writer. Mm-hmm. And Rothfuss was like, that makes so much sense when you say it like that. Like Sanderson's like, I can't do anything but write. Like that is just how I interact with people. It's how I learn stuff about people and build relationships and reinforce those relationships. Like he wrote Tress for his wife. And I think that's something that is relatable, and it makes sense to me. Like being compulsive of something and feeling that's your way of like belonging is really powerful.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I can understand that too.
Would you say that you're a compulsive reader?
I sure. I think that I don't have hobbies. I have personality traits. Be it reading or adventuring, like when I meet someone out in the wild that likes the same things as me, I'm like, we're best friends now. Like
people at the bookstore.
Yeah. Talk to people everywhere I go, Jimmy. I am a golden retriever. I see a human and my tail starts wagging. I'm so excited for human interaction.
Have you ever been recognized in public?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm getting better. It's happened to me twice that I can remember, and the first time was bad, and the second time I did well.
Do you mind if I ask you what was bad about the first time?
Yeah. So I was at the library, and she was checking out my books, and she goes, "Do you make One Piece videos?" And I froze, and I just stared at her with my mouth open for like way too long. And then without moving my mouth, I went, "Yeah." and she goes, "Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Sometimes I watch the videos." And then I felt terrible because she was apologizing to me for kindly approaching me. So I apologized for being horrible, and then we ended up chatting and talking about One Piece, and it was fine and it was great. But the next time I did better. It was just very overwhelming.
When you disengage from these conversations, do you always say, "Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe"?
No.
You never?
What?
You never do that?
Jimmy, I don't say that on my channel. Why would I say that in real life? I'm not a douche.
I do that to people who don't even recognize me. I just do it to random people. I'm like, "Hey, thanks for the coffee. Don't forget to like and subscribe." And they're like, "What?" Like,
so that's the way you socially interact.
Yeah, you got to build that brand.
Oh, wow. That is a choice.
I got recognized for being a wrestler, and I always hated it. Oh, I hated it. The worst time ever was I was really banged up, and it was before a big show, and I was doing a loop. It was like a 3-city loop. So I think I was going to Huntington, West Virginia, Cleveland, and I think it was Philly, or I went back down to like Charleston, West Virginia. So you were
exhausted.
I was exhausted, and I had this knot in my back that was the size of a baseball. And in wrestling, I'm going to be landing on my back. Mm-hmm. And I go into this Massage Envy, I think is what it's called. It's like a chain. And I'm like, hey, I just need someone to work on this thing. Like, I got it. I can't move. And the guy's like, okay, cool. There's no air conditioning. I get the hairiest gentleman I've ever met. And
Does that matter?
he's like,
Are you massaging him?
"Yeah." I can feel like the burn from like him rubbing my back with his hairy
On
I
his
don't know.
palms? Do he have hairy palms?
No, he just he had is taking his arm.
Oh,
and I'm
okay,
just like,
okay,
I
okay.
don't know. I'm not a very hairy person, so like I'm not used to this. And I'm just like, okay, this is weird. And then he's like 2 minutes in, and he goes, "Did you wrestle for Ring of Honor?" And I'm like, yes, I did. And then
Why didn't you just say no?
because I have an ego. And I was like, I got to make this guy's day. And he proceeded to talk to me the entire time, which I don't know if you've ever had deep tissue massage, but you don't want to talk.
No.
For me, it's not relaxing. It is intense. And you're there for something to get fixed. And he's just like, you ever meet Roddy Piper? Yeah. It's like, bro,
it's like going to the dentist and they ask you questions the whole time.
Oh, does your dentist offer you like Botox and stuff now? I'm sorry, has nothing to do with anything.
No, and I don't think they should.
Yeah, my dentist is like lip fillers, Botox, and I'm like, are you guys not making enough money off molars anymore? Like, what are we
That's sus
doing?
behavior. Is he why?
I don't know. And then like I feel like the pitches are aggressive. Like, you have a terrible smile. Would you like to fix it? I'm like, ow.
What?
And then they always are just like, I'm always just like, no, I don't really care. Like, I'm married. It's over. Like, I'm married. Like, I'm
sweet.
good.
I don't need to look good for my wife.
Yeah, like I made it this far with these crooked teeth. I'll be fine. And they're like, I guess.
What? You need a new dentist.
I agree, but every dentist around here is booked. Why am I talking about dentists?
I used to work for a dentist. I'm actually super interested in dentistry.
I could see that.
What?
I could see that.
What? Why? Because I love giving people pain. I feel like people hate the dentist. Why do you think that? Why do you associate me with dentistry?
What was your your job there? What were you doing?
As a receptionist.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't a professional.
You weren't back there cleaning.
No, are you kidding me?
Do you think you would be good at it?
Yes.
I got confidence. I like it. You're like, I could clean some teeth.
I'd have to go to school, and I'm a college dropout, so maybe not. But
Oh, you're a dropout too?
I'm a dropout.
Let's go. Awesome. I'm so happy for. So what did you drop out of?
College? What?
Wait, like, what was your program? What were you going for?
No, dude, I didn't even have one. Yeah. I went to school because so I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I was like, I'll just get my prerequisites out. I'll go to a community college, get my prerequisites out of the way, not go into massive debt. Did that. And I was like, this is stupid. And then I did something else.
What'd you do?
Reception.
Okay. So that was the move. Okay.
That was the move.
Was that what you were doing when you started BookTube?
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
I had aspirations to someday become a pilot. And I still might do that. But
I definitely can. I mean, I'm sure if you've had interest, you've looked into it. But my very best, the guy I do Dudes Talking Manga with, Andrew, is literally this week, like getting his like official license. Like, he already has.
No way.
License. Yeah. So he passed the written exam, and then he had to do like a check flight, and he just passed. And he sent me a video from him in his plane, and it is like, I'm never riding with him. Like, there's not a chance.
Amazing.
They're going to give this man a license. And I can't think of someone who shouldn't be behind the pillars more than this guy.
What did you drop out of?
So first it was accounting, because I was like, I'm good with numbers. I should do that. And then like I was doing it, and I was like a semester away from doing that degree. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And so I stopped. And then around 24, I got really interested in physics, and I was listening to physics audiobooks, like nonfiction books, on my long wrestling road trips. And I was like reading stuff in locker rooms, and I was like, well, I should just do this. So then I got into physics, and I really loved it. And I wanted to go into astrophysics, but I very quickly realized that this wasn't something I could do and do anything else. Like, I couldn't work full time. I couldn't do all these things. I had also lost my job of like 8 years at that point, which was really tough. And it was just a really bad time in my life. So, and then I figured that if I was going to go to astrophysics, I need a PhD. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be like 35 by the time this is over. And I was like, that's too long, and I was thinking about getting married, and I was like, I got to provide and all these things. So I decided that I would just be a hobbyist with physics. And I still love physics, actually. I
Yeah.
really enjoy it. It's actually
What do
some
you
of
do
my
now?
so now I am a software developer. I do
So
software.
you just did a.
I taught myself.
Oh, okay. You didn't even go to classes for it?
I went to YouTube University. I went on YouTube. We moved to this new location because my wife got a job. So I quit my my job as an IT guy. I was a IT admin, and I
Yeah.
kind of worked in tech support my whole like life. And when we moved here for my wife's job, I had a little bit of time, and I was like, "What can I learn in 6 to 8 months that I will enjoy that I don't have to go in debt for?" And I was like, "I'll just do coding." Because I'd already done
Love
a little
that.
bit, like a tiny bit. And my dad had done, it wasn't his job, but he did as a hobby. So I've always been interested in it. And for like 7, 8 months, every single day, I just did an hour. And I was applying the jobs by 3 months in. I turned down a job at 4 months in because they offered me too low money. Because I was like, I know my worth. Plus, I didn't feel any pressure.
Yeah.
That was scary. I was like, did I just turn down my entry into this? I don't have a degree. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But around month 7 or 8, I can't remember now. I got 2 offers, and I've been doing it for years now.
That's
So
amazing. That
yeah,
doesn't surprise me though. You're very charismatic. So it doesn't surprise me that you interview well.
I would say my people skills have taken me farther than anything else in my life, and being able to talk to people, and that comes from being, a kid that didn't have many qualities whenever he was younger and needed to fit in with everybody.
Yeah.
And then obviously wrestling and traveling across the country, that is invaluable to me. There's a lot of things I regret in that time period, but I certainly don't feel like the personal skills that I took away from that were a
Yeah.
waste. They are invaluable.
That's
without a doubt.
amazing. I love that.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. And then I started making YouTube videos.
And then it was all done.
And
Now
that was
this is the only thing you care about in life ever.
I keep myself very, very busy. Do you think being a booktuber is your favorite job, like, that you've ever had?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, easily.
Do you-
Easily. I mean, haven't done much. I mostly have worked reception for most of my life, or before YouTube, and it was good. I got to hang out with people all the time. I was very bad at being organized and keeping track of things, but the patients loved me because I remembered everybody's name. I knew exactly what their preferences were, and I could remind the staff of everything. But I wasn't very good at the job. I'm so this works out much better for me.
That is, you're probably giving yourself a hard time, I think. There's no
I
way
don't
you're
think so.
really.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I've
Like
had jobs I was bad at.
I've had multiple managers tell me like you're the best people person we've ever had, but you can't keep this stuff straight. Like doesn't matter how many times we go over it. You
We
can't
really like
keep
having you here.
Yeah,
But
reception isn't even that hard of a job. Like it's active, you never stop moving. There's always something to do, but it's not that complicated and I couldn't do it. But I was really good with people.
do you feel more organized whenever you're doing your YouTube stuff?
Yeah.
Do you think it's because it's yours?
I think maybe. I don't know. I've never had a problem working for other people, especially if it's someone I like. Like the dentist I worked for, he was an amazing guy. And so I wanted to see his business succeed. I wanted to do everything I could to help him.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think maybe because it's about something that I'm passionate about. I'm not passionate about dentistry. I'm interested in it, but I'm not passionate about it. But getting to talk to people about books, I really care about that.
Yeah. It's certainly one of the best things that you can do with your time, at least in my super biased opinion.
Super biased.
Alan, I do not believe you interview horribly. And also, I told the story about your tough past being a manga fan when it wasn't cool.
We've talked about you a lot in the stream, Alan. Sorry about that.
I bring up Alan to people who don't watch YouTube. I'm like, I got this friend Alan, and you gotta understand. And they're like, who is this guy? I'm like,
Why do you
he's just
talk about him so much?
I love him. He's one of my best friends. Alan, I wish everyone in the world could meet Alan, because
Alan's my nemesis.
watching
can't-
YouTube disagree is amazing.
What's that?
you two disagreeing on something is the best.
I don't know what's wrong with me, but when I get into the same stream with Alan, I just want to pick on him. And I feel so guilty sometimes, but I do.
The best thing about Alan is that he will give it right back.
Oh, he will.
I love it. It's always been good fun though.
Oh yeah.
There's no way Alan will never not tell you exactly how he feels about something. He was in that stream with I Was the other night, and we were talking about classics, and Alan was just going off about Dickens, like being like, Dickens is terrible, garbage.
That's exactly why I like to pick on him, because when you push a button with him, he just explodes, and it's so fun to watch. Like, it's so fun to get him going.
Well, he can articulate his anger very well.
Yeah, he can.
It's an impressive skill, because I kind of clam up, like earlier when I was ranting about Tress. Like I almost ran out of words, because I'm like, how can I express how angry I am right now?
Yeah.
So I respect it. I definitely hope that we all get together to discuss Philip's second book.
Yeah, I think we're going to. I think it's going to happen. We'll all get together for Stoner too. I
would love that. I would very much love that. I hope you
Alan, come on my channel and talk Stoner with us.
Yes, Alan. You can tell us how relatable it is. I think Philip's also going to find it very relatable, and I think it's going to be maybe a tough read for Philip, possibly.
I'll be the one I'll be a hater, just to be contrary.
You're going to be the hater.
Yeah. Like, I mean, even if I love it, I'll just come ready.
Well, I don't want to keep you too much longer. I know it's your Friday night, and I do appreciate you spending some time here with us. But I have one final question, and you don't have to think about it too deeply. No one's going to hold you to it. But if you had to pick a Mount Rushmore of your taste as a reader, who would you put on?
I thought you were going to make me pick a head. I'm like, I don't know which one's my favorite.
Who would be the 4 people on your Mount Rushmore for your reading taste?
Wait. Oh, it's serious? What are you asking me?
An author, like authors, 4 authors.
Oh, okay. All right, sure. So we're gonna go with Frederick Bachman, Joe Abercrombie.
Ooh, that surprised me.
Why?
I mean, I knew you liked him a ton and loved him, but I didn't know he'd be on your Mount Rushmore. That's awesome. That makes me sad.
Oda, obviously, and it would be wrong for me to put Scott Lynch in there.
Scott Lynch.
Because it's 3 books, and he might not. I don't even know if he's gonna keep. I don't know if there's gonna be 4th, but it's gonna be Scott Lynch.
I thought Scott Lynch would make it. That was the one
I will say, once I read more, it's so hard. Okay, that's fine. I'm just gonna stick with it, even though I have regrets already.
Who's the one on the outside that you're thinking about?
I feel like both. Of course, I don't remember Douglas Adams.
Okay.
Both him and Terry Pratchett, I'm like, oh, they should be there. But I'll just stick with it. I'll just dig my heels in.
You just got to roll with it. And what I do, see, I ask this question every now and then. I just change mine all the time.
Do you really? Okay, today, who are your 4?
Okay, my 4 for Mount Rushmore. George R. Martin.
Oh, shocker.
Carl Duker.
Whoa. You never talk about Carl Duker.
YA sports teen book writer.
Okay.
Very important for me. Very important for me. Oh, man, Steven Erikson. And then this is the hard one, because I got R. Scott Baker, Tad Williams, Robin Hobb, Cormac McCarthy is up there too. Philip Chase is up there. You know, you gotta give some love to Philip. And then I know I'm forgetting more. People are gonna be like, "What about this?"
You forgot.
I'm gonna tell you what. I think for the last one, I'm gonna just go with my gut and say Tad Williams, because Tad Williams seems to be someone. One, obviously he's very important to the genre, but Tad Williams is also one of those authors that I feel like people give him the good college try, and it's like a hit or miss, because he's very long-winded with his books and stuff. But there's something about the reliability of Tad Williams to me. Like, I've never read a Tad Williams book and been upset I read it ever. And there's always something I'm going to get out of it. And I also just think he's a hell of a guy. When he came on and chatted with me, he definitely earned some bonus points. So
have you ever chatted with Abercrombie?
I have not. I
I
would
feel
love to.
confident he would come on your channel. He came on mine.
I mean,
It took 0 effort.
Joseph, if you're down, come on.
For reals. He's so like I emailed him out of the blue. We had never talked before, and I was like, "Would you be willing?" And he's like, "Yep, sure." When like he's so chill.
I would love to talk to Joe Abercrombie because I'm pretty sure he's also a weightlifting / maybe slight meathead. So I think me and him.
Is that true?
I've seen pictures of him in the gym. He's pretty. He's a Chad. Like
no kidding.
Talking about himbos. I mean, Abercrombie's not a bad looking guy. Let's be honest. I know Pierce Brown's getting all the shine now because his book's coming out, but like Joe Abercrombie's a looker, folks. Come on.
That's funny. In the video that I posted today, somebody talked about the fact that Joe looks like he works out.
Yeah, he's fit.
I don't think I've ever. I mean, headshots. Everything is a headshot. How do you even know that about him?
I saw like I've seen so many weird pictures of him, like him in the Germ shirt.
Why are you Googling him?
He's a fantastic guy. That's another author. I like hearing what he has to say. I think he's fun.
Sure.
But I definitely have seen him in a gym somewhere. So maybe I should fly and go interview Joe Abercrombie and work out with him.
All right.
That could be fun. Triceps and trilogies.
Do you never mind. You end this and then I'll ask you the question. Now we're just getting tangenty.
All right, folks, thanks for tuning in. You're always such a wonderful third guest. And let's give a big warm round of applause for Merphy coming on here. Not everyone will come on and do this. The live thing scares people. People are always, Merphy wasn't. She's brave. She's an adventurer. But there are people who are like, what is the chat going to say? You guys are always so supportive and ask some of the best questions. And I got a whole lot of love for y'all spending your Friday night here with me and Merphy. Merphy, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime. Open invite. Doors always open. Do you want to tell people where they can find you on the internet for the maybe one person in the chat that isn't already subscribed to your channel?
Do you know how long it took Jimmy to invite me to come on? He's all hyping me up right now. He's like, "Oh, it's so nice of you to come on." Do you know how long Jimmy and I were hanging out before he finally invited me on Chatting with Nuts? Just saying.
You did send me an email that said, "Talk to me about Grace of Kings."
Yes, I did. I was like, "Talk to me, Jimmy. We are friends. Just accept it."
Well, I am very thankful that you have just been persistent knocking on the door, and I can give you this. No, I'm just kidding. I am definitely super thankful, not just for you being here, but for your friendship. So thank you so much, Merphy.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you, everybody. Good to see everyone, even though you were watching the chat, I wasn't, but it's still good to see everyone.
Folks, you can check out Merphy's channels down in the description below. If you haven't subscribed, what are you doing? Do you have a pulse? You should definitely do that. But we'll do it again for sure. But I hope everyone has a good weekend. Be good, be safe. And remember to always keep turning the page.